have someone over there to let the folks in the hallway know. I'm not sure in the hallway. I don't know if they can see what's happening in here or in the next room. So if you want to be able to hear everything, I would encourage you to probably not try to squeeze in here, but instead use the overflow room. You can see and hear everything from over there. You can participate in the same way over there. If you're in here, that's fine, but I don't want folks in the hallway to miss anything. So with that said, Superintendent Colquhoun is Cat TV. Thank you very much. So folks, hi.
Hi.
Hi. I wonder what I'm super about tonight. So this is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Southwest Vermont Unified Elementary School District. This is the night we meet. My name is Chris Murphy. A couple very quick housekeeping things before we jump into our agenda. For those of you who are participating online tonight, certainly thank you for participating, whether it's in person or online. Thank you for caring enough to participate in a school board meeting. If you want to participate at all, please use the hand raise function on the Zoom app that you're using. Also, please use a name for yourself. This board and other public boards have had issues in the very recent past about people logging on as an anonymous user, posting pornography, posting racial pictures, and you don't want that. So for anyone who's participating online, please do ascribe a name to yourself. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to participate in public comment. Okay. So the way that this works, I'll just sort of explain procedure to folks. There's the posted agenda that we stick to. If there are any changes to be made to the agenda, that has to happen before the agenda kicks off. So I would ask from the board members, I would ask for a motion to eliminate agenda item 10. It would have called for an executive session. The reason that was on there is no longer an issue, so we don't need to hold it. So I would entertain a motion, please, to amend the agenda by removing agenda item 10, the executive session.
I make a motion.
We'll call first Sandy, second Cindy. Any discussion on that? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of amending the agenda as described, please signify by saying aye. Aye. One of our board members is participating online. Christelle, it looks like it's going to be a tie. I will ask the superintendent to unmute you, but since that was all in the affirmative anyway, I won't ask the superintendent to go through that aspect of it. So the motion passes.
I don't see her here.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay. So that amends our agenda, so we can jump right into it. So the first agenda item is a chair report. That's me. So good evening. I've already introduced myself, but I'll say it again. My name is Chris Murphy, and I serve as the chair of the SVUESD Board of Directors. To address the recent controversy regarding the Pledge of Allegiance, I'll begin by reiterating the statement that was issued by the superintendent last week, and then I'll offer my own statement. So the following is the statement that was issued last week by Superintendent Colquhoun. The Southwest Vermont Union Elementary School District and Southwest Vermont Supervisory Union have not banned the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance. We are all part of the same community. Within our community, there are a variety of voices and opinions. When it comes to reciting the Pledge of Allegiance in schools, some families are in full support, some families find different points of controversy, and some families care very little about the subject. And there are reasons that validate all of those stances. For the last several years, the principals of each of the schools in the SVSU have been empowered to decide if the Pledge of Allegiance would be recited in the individual.
How many people are there?
Be able to mute that, please.
Holy.
I know, it's great. Okay.
I'm not sure how that sounds.
Thank you.
This is coming from the other.
Okay. So, building principals have been empowered to decide if the pledge would be recited in the individual buildings, and this is not new. Across all schools where the pledge was recited, students and staff have the choice to opt out. On its face, the opt-out choice seems reasonable. But as we've learned, when students do so, it highlights differences between our kids. It disrupts the community and excludes kids who just want to be part of their classrooms. Classroom teachers, building principals, and school staff should not be leading activities during instructional time that make our kids feel separate from their classmates, no matter how well-intentioned it may be. It is now clear that a consistent practice needs to be developed across our schools to address all the various points of view on the matter, while fostering a stronger sense of community among our students.
It's probably Simon's fault.
Yes, that's a great point.
If you have a phone, you play silence.
Yep, thank you, folks.
Thank you very much.
The SVUESD, that's this board, will be undertaking this work for the 6 schools under its purview, and we encourage the other member districts of the SU to do the same. That's the end of the superintendent's statement. Now, this is my statement as board chair. There is no ban at Shaftesbury or any other school of the SVUESD. There are schools in this district where the pledge is recited daily during morning announcements. There are schools where it is not said at all. And there are schools like Shaftesbury where it is not a school-wide practice but has occurred in some classrooms at the discretion of the teacher. None of this is new. In fact, for Shaftesbury, it has been at least 3 years since the pledge has been recited at the school-wide level. At this time, Principal Johnson is working with his student leaders at Shaftesbury Elementary to develop a practice for the short term, while this board develops directives for the long term. But there is no ban, there has not been a ban, there is no plan for a ban. As such, you're a member of the public, and truly thank you for coming out tonight. Whenever people care about schools, it is a wonderful, wonderful thing. So if you're a member of the public and you hope to speak against this ban, which doesn't exist, I would just ask that you allow someone else the opportunity to speak as well. At our next meeting, this board will be further discussing the matter of the pledge to create a clear process for all the elementary schools in the SVUESD. There will be no action taken on this tonight because creating a practice that covers 4 schools, 4 towns, 6 schools, and more than 1,000 students deserves careful thought. This board is not going to rush into creating new district practice based on an anger over a ban that, again, does not actually exist. I would say that the vast, vast majority of the hundreds of social media posts on this idea have been written by people with zero actual information about this issue. Many posts include wild speculations presented as facts that have little or no basis in reality. So if you read things like a planned district-wide ban, or a ban on flags, or backroom deals between administrators, none of that is true. Now, almost since the inception of this board, the SVUESD, which came about as a result of the merger a few years ago, this board has begun all of its meetings with a voluntary recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance by its members. Now, because this board is comprised of citizens dedicating our time for the public good, it has been and remains my view that one of the reasons why it's important for us to say the pledge is because it serves as an aspirational statement of guidance for us. It reminds us that we are undertaking this work for the betterment of our community and that our actions ought to live up to the ideals of liberty and justice for all affected by those actions. That is why I include the pledge in each agenda. But it's not on tonight's agenda. And that's because given the tenor and the tone of much of the social media commentary, I was worried that people would arrive here tonight and use the pledge as a cheap political toy. I believe it ought to be taken seriously. I will add that I am astounded and disappointed at the anger and finger pointing that has emerged, all apparently, without many people taking a moment to try to learn if any of this is actually true. The pledge will be on our agenda next meeting, and every other meeting while I continue to serve as chair of this board. Now, one final point of clarification before we open the floor to public comment. The school did not request law enforcement present at Shaftesbury last week. It's my understanding that the sheriff observed the anger that was being voiced on social media and decided to be present as a public safety measure. To me, that seems like a genuine and legitimate function of the work of the sheriff's office. It seems well within his prerogative, but it was not a request made by the school or the district. So, before we open the floor for public comment, again, there is no ban. And again, just as a point of sort of explaining procedure to folks, let me just outline what public comment is. It's not a question and answer session for the board. There's a process by which questions can be asked of board members. I would say if anyone has a question that you want an answer to, it needs to be directed to the board through the email addresses that are located on the web page, right? And depending on sort of the question that's asked, either you get a direct answer if it's an easy one, or if it's something that the board needs to take up, you'll very likely see it on a future agenda item at some point. All right, so please don't expect to ask questions tonight that we just might not be prepared to answer for you. By all means, make comments. If you have comments to make, please feel free to make them. But remember, folks, there's no ban. And so if you want to speak out against the ban, maybe somebody else has something to say instead. And I would also say that if the thing you want to share has already been shared by someone, and if you maybe don't have an additional thing to add, let's be respectful of each other's time and maybe not take up the time that other people might want to use. So given the number of people here tonight, when you have the floor, please clearly state your name and the town you live in. Just because of the way that the board functions, preference is going to be given by people who live in the SVSU towns. So Pownell, Shaftesbury, Woodford, and Bennington. If you don't live in those towns, you can still speak, but I would ask you to let those folks come first. Again, I think I said it already, but folks online, use the hand raise motion, please. Everyone is going to be muted until then.
The reaction button on the bottom.
Yeah. So those of you who are not familiar with Zoom, there's a few different reactions. There's clapping and hand waving and all that. Use the hand wave one for those of you on Zoom. I felt like 9 years old explaining that just now. I would just ask, we conduct ourselves appropriately, right? For adults, there are feelings around this, there are emotions around that, that's fine. But I think if we all speak to each other in the manner that we would want to be spoken to, I think we'll be able to get through this just fine tonight.
Yeah.
So, who would like to go first? Jeff wants to go. Jeff, do you have a question? He's a board member, so I'll answer his question.
So for public comment, we just stepped at 5 minutes.
So,
Extend this.
perfect, yes, thank you for bringing that up. The agenda is structured in such a way to say how much time generally will be allotted for each agenda item. It's always been my practice, if you care enough to show up, you're gonna be able to speak. So we'll go 3 hours. People wanna go 3 hours, we'll go 3 hours. But again, if there's no ban, so no need to say you don't support a ban. I presume most folks here don't support a ban. There isn't one, we're good with that. And again, if you don't have something, I suppose, new to add to the discourse, maybe just let someone else have a turn. Thank you. Okay, now we'd like to, actually, I saw this gentleman over here raise his hand before anyone else. Yes, please.
Mr. Murphy, my name is Michael Gardner. Sorry, I typed up some notes for myself so I can stay on track.
Me too.
Of course. I'm a sixth grader at Shasberry Elementary School. I also happen to be, I think, one of the only parents that Mr. Johnson spoke with Thursday morning over the concerns. And while I respect where you're coming from, I'm not sure how else you would define no longer allowing teachers to lead their children in the Pledge of Allegiance, other than perhaps, I mean, he said no longer permitted. Some might interpret that as a ban, and I will use that as context to begin my thoughts. When I first learned of the policy change at Shasberry, I was shocked and imagined so many more things being eliminated out of the fear of potentially offending someone. No more Spirit Week, no more fundraisers, no more school musicals with Christmas music or Hanukkah music. No more fundraisers unless the cookies were gluten-free, organic, and vegan. No more school dances out of the fear it creates someone to feel isolated. I've calmed down a bit since. I'm not going to talk about the potential black hole this path leads us down, patriotism or politics. There are others here that believe these things. I'm going to talk about policy. In my opinion, banning reasonable free speech is saying the only opinion you agree with is one that matters. It's no different than banning books you may not like. And while I may not necessarily like what someone has to say, or a particular book in the library, I respect our teachers to use their judgment in how they teach those things. It's my job as a parent to balance the views of others, help my daughter learn, develop, and become a kind, respectful, and productive citizen. This is perfectly acceptable to begin when our children are young. It's imperative they learn we live in a country that supports our freedoms. This country isn't perfect, but my daughter will be able to vote, drive, be successful, or frankly, be anything she wants to be if she develops those skills. Some of you may not believe that, as is your right, but I do. And I think we need to have more aspirational thinking for our children. I expect that a policy decision of this magnitude, restricting speech, will be made only after discussion with teachers, the union, considerations of the community, and only then will a policy change occur. Discussion comes before decision, always. As you form a policy to address free speech and the issue of our pledge, I ask that you consider all those interested parties. They all matter. It is a lack of proper policy that has gotten us to this point. I have a good working relationship with Jeff Johnson, the principal at Shasberry Elementary School. And while I don't agree with his temporary decision, he should not have been forced to make it. Let's all be honest with each other. In the heat of the moment, we've all made decisions that with more thought or time may regret or wish we had implemented differently. In my opinion, this lack of proper policy is another example of a long list of policy decisions made by our superintendent to distance himself from being held accountable. As the very well-paid leader of this district, the proverbial buck stops with him, and leadership should be coming from him. Asking school administrators to create policy on the fly is not effective, fair, or proper. And I would encourage the superintendent to apologize to all of the administrators in our district for putting them in this position. They were thrown under the proverbial school bus. Those of you on the board must wear two hats, one of a private citizen and one as a board member. In setting policy, you should be wearing your school board hat. You're looking out for the best interest of the community, our students, teachers, and administrators. As a private citizen, you must recognize that either unintentionally or quite by intention, your actions, your words, and your opinions carry the extra weight of being on this board. How you treat and refer to our teachers, our administrators, and others in our community should be with this in mind. You can't claim the altar of virtuousness while simultaneously denigrating different opinions in your community. I would urge everyone to be cognizant of your role, even in your actions as private citizens. If anyone on this board is unable to understand those nuances, I would encourage you to rethink your position before this policy decision is made. I wish you all the luck on this adventure. I hope you are thoughtful, deliberate, and swift to limit the continued disruption to our community. The voices you hear tonight should carry the same weight as the voices you've already heard.
Amen.
You know, my name is Norman Blank. I'm commander of the local DFW, 24-year Navy veteran, 5 combat tour veteran.
Thank you for all of you.
I came out of the Bennington School District, okay, grew up, Woodford, 2-room schoolhouse, I wouldn't change a thing, okay? We, the community, are charged with educating the next generation of leaders in this country. And mentorship starts at a very, very, very young age. We are already behind the ball with COVID, as you can well know. We understand this. Having the pledge not being an everyday standard operation procedure as we had it in our childhood, I think is a travesty to this country.
Yeah.
We are Americans, we are American citizens. I hope every individual in this room, whether you came from another country, which both of my grandparents' sides did, are proud to be here. And it starts at a very young age. How will we expect a very small youth child, maybe 5 years old, walk to the gymnasium and say the Pledge of Allegiance by himself? We have to teach, we have to mentor the next generation at a lower level. I am here today to get educated. So I take a little bit of offense at your statement. We're trying to find out what's going on, what the policy, what led us to this point. I know I can't answer the question, but I'm going to tell you the question it's going to ask. I am going to ask which schools are doing it, which schools are not doing it when they've done it. But that will come in the formal. Thank you for telling me how that process works.
So whether, I don't know if I said this or not, so sometimes the chair does choose to respond to certain comments. This is one of the ones, so Mr. Lane, you raise a great point about about my characterization of people not wanting to learn. Folks here, you are participating, you are here at the place where decisions like that get made. That's not who I was referring to. The people who spout off online hateful, angry things without ever taking a moment's breath or hesitation to figure out if there's another actionable side, that's who I'm talking about. If you're here in this room or the next room or online, you care enough to figure out what is actually happening, and you're not the people I'm talking about. I don't see anyone necessarily in this room or that room being the problem. So thank you for raising that point, because that's a nice piece of clarification that I should have also. Thank you for that. Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Cindy Lake, and I live in Pownell, and I just wanted to make a statement saying that when you have your young kids, I said it in school, the Pledge of Allegiance, and so did everybody else. And to not allow kids to be led into it, and the teachers, they're a great person, they're the people that the kids see every day. And along with all the other regular math, science, and everything else that you learn in school, you're learning about your country, you're learning history, and you're learning respect. Respect for your flag, respect for the country. And to say that the teachers are not allowed to lead them in the Pledge of Allegiance, it's beyond mind-boggling.
Great.
And I just think that something like that should be discussed in a civil manner and not be already taking place in any school without a meeting. There's two sides to every story. But honestly, I feel if somebody doesn't want their children doing the Pledge of Allegiance, then they must have to just stay out of it or just not say it. But for the benefit of the majority, want this, let it happen. It's such good character building. How are they gonna learn to respect the country and the flag and everything that it stands for without it?
Respect this process
Correct.
that we're here now.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I
Amen.
raised my hand.
Yes, ma'am, please.
Yes, my name is Darlene Cohn. I live in Shasberry. I am here, I'm the president of the American Legion Auxiliary here in Bennington. So we're very much into our flag. Many years ago when I went to school, it was just, we did it. We started school, we did the Pledge of Allegiance, then we sang My Country 'Tis of Thee. I don't know how these principals got, what happened when we made that they didn't have to? Why isn't it just a given? That we come to school, whether they recite the pledge, or they don't recite the pledge. I personally feel the pledge needs to be said for God and country, and that's all I have to say.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll swoop over here next. Yes, please, sir.
When I was growing up, we had a moment of silent prayer in the lower grades. And then we got up and said the pledge. Now, what I'm asking is, who made this decision? Just 6 or 7 people? I think it's only fair that you get the parents involved and also have a secret ballot with all the children and vote whether they want to say the pledge or not. Don't be a dictator and put them under the glass. Okay? And you see how this country is divided, and you're helping that cause, dividing this country. That's all I got to say.
Victor Harwood, I'm from Shaftesbury. I am the son of a career Army officer. I have 4 siblings. They're all veterans, including 1 Green Beret. I was a naval air for a career, and I was an officer in the Navy. And I just suggest that people that find saying the Pledge of Allegiance abhorrent need a little trip, and I'll go to Arlington Cemetery. And then let's tell them what's gonna be on my casket when I'm in the box. I think it's complete disrespect as an American to not want to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I, as a conservative, find myself listening to abhorrent DEI theory and pushing DEI even where I work part-time down at Home Depot. I walk in and I see a DEI sign and I'm a white guy. I didn't make that decision when those 2 cells came together. I'm automatically a misogynist, a racist, and that kind of stuff, neither of which I am. However, I was brought up to respect the flag. I put my life on the line like a bunch of these other folks, and they wrote a check too, up to and including their lives. And if people don't respect the flag, they're not respecting us at all. Now, I make a motion as a citizen, and I'm more proud of being a citizen of the United States than I am being a retired naval officer. But I direct my representatives to make a motion to cause it to be mandatory.
Yes.
Mandatory.
Yes.
My name is Alma Jane Clark, and I am a retired teacher from Monty Stark Elementary in Covenant. And where are our children going to learn about America but in our schools? There are You say that you say the Pledge of Allegiance at every meeting. Well, it puzzles me to think that you do it here, but you don't expect it anywhere else. As a public. I also would like to say that you cannot leave it up to the teachers. When I was at Molly Stark 5 years ago, I would run the community celebration, and we would do the Pledge of Allegiance and the Star Spangled Banner, and we had a teacher that would kneel with the Star Spangled Banner and the Pledge of Allegiance with some of her students who had no idea what she was protesting. So you cannot leave it up to the teachers. It should be mandatory.
I'm Natalia Silvio, and I have been teaching in early childhood and the primary grades in SVSU for 15 years. The conversation over the Pledge of Allegiance being said in our schools has been occurring for many years, and as it should, it's cropping up again for legitimate reasons. In public school education, we often are focused on the what of teaching, and we often do not spend enough time asking why. This is an opportunity for us to examine why some classrooms or schools say the pledge and question if that is best practice. The Pledge of Allegiance has a problematic history, and it has an understandably negative impact on some teachers, staff, and students in our communities. In addition to this, I have over the years chosen not to give space for the Pledge of Allegiance in my classroom because it is not developmentally appropriate for younger children to truly understand the words and deep meaning of pledging allegiance to their country. As an educator, I know that children must first learn to understand themselves as individuals, gradually beginning to branch out and gain a sense of themselves within their family and their community, their city, their state, their country, and so on. Again, if we ask the question, why do we say it in elementary schools? It should be because of well-considered reasons that are centered on the child. I believe that we should take the time to thoughtfully and accurately teach our children the history of this country when it is appropriate for them, and should then give them the opportunity to navigate their patriotism with a better understanding of what that means to them. I believe that it is our responsibility as educators to support our students' holistic understanding of what we teach them and to support their critical thinking along their own educational path. In closing, we have a responsibility as a school community to honor each individual that walks through our doors and to provide them with a healthy learning environment that is not divisive or that puts a spotlight on the humble outliers. Thank you.
I had two things. One, you know where you are, right? You're in Bennington. 2 months ago, we had the Battle of Bennington. This whole county is based on that. Okay, the national anthem, our constitution, etc. So these kids need to know that. Okay, and they're not going to know big words, but they're going to understand there's something going on here. And the other thing is, it's my understanding that it's part of your curriculum in some of the grades. So are you going to tell the people that they can't do their curriculum now? Okay, I'm upset, but I think you've got to know that. And that's why these people are here. The foundations of America are here. And you need to make sure the kids know that.
It's one of those times that I respond to the chair responds to a comment. So specifically to the point around the curriculum. So today was clarified for me just the be careful with the language when I say curriculum. So if I stumble around this, I'm trying to use the right word. So the curriculum, the standards that all the elementary school kids in Vermont need to learn, set by the Vermont Agency of Education. That's the curriculum. The way the curriculum is met or delivered in the schools is through what we have called primary sources, right? So what do we use to teach to get to the things that the state wants our kids to learn, basically? And you're absolutely right. One of those things that the district has paid for, right? And this should be a further demonstration that there is no ban. You're absolutely right, Marge. The district has paid for one of these primary sources, which is a book about saying the pledge, and teaches in a developmentally appropriate way what that really means. Because I think, to speak to the last person's point, your average elementary school student to understand pledge or allegiance or republic, like these are concepts that I think many adults would really struggle with. So, and, right, well, and so that's what this particular, right, and this particular thing that's of this source that's available to teachers if they so choose to teach to that part of the curriculum, it satisfies both literacy standards and history standards, right? So it isn't, you're absolutely right, it is included. And so again, in my view, just further underscores this reality that there's not a ban, and in fact, this notion of patriotism and American history, it is taught in a number of ways already. So I wanted to offer that just for further consideration while we're talking. Mr. Gardner, what we're gonna do, we're gonna make sure everyone gets a chance
I
first.
just, can you possibly address the issue of, you say there's no ban. I spoke directly to the principal Thursday morning, who said it's no longer allowed to be taught by teachers. Could you come up with some other adjective that isn't banned?
So what is,
Clarify.
so yes, so I'm breaking my own rule, because I'm not gonna respond. So it's my understanding, as I said in the statement before, so Principal Johnson is working with the students, with student leadership, the sixth graders in school, to figure out the way that the pledge can be delivered. I want to catch myself from breaking my own rule and not trying to answer those questions. It's an emerging process. It's an emerging practice route that school is going to determine for itself for the short term, while this board undertakes the larger work of figuring out what it's going to look like for the ESD.
So this young lady happens to be a teacher at Shasbury Elementary School. If she wants to be leading her children in the pledge tomorrow at 8:31, is she permitted?
I've been doing it for my 7th year doing it, and I was suddenly told by administration that I am no longer allowed to
So, alright, so
I'll go out there and say they can't pledge allegiance in your.
This needs to be a calm and public conversation, so please be respectful on both sides. I gotta stand up and try to be the referee on her.
That teacher was on the phone saying she is not allowed to say it at the school. It is a ban. You cannot sit here and say it's not a ban. You cannot speak.
So ma'am, I guess what I would say to this, and Mr. LeBlanc, thank you for intervening.
I'll do the best I can.
And this is what I would say, and again, what I'm about to say is part of this, what I'm about to say, I was not there for the conversation that Principal Johnson had. I've not been there for the conversation that Principal Johnson's had with the students. This is how I would frame it. If Principal Johnson were to say there's no more eating in class, it does not mean they're getting rid of the cafeteria, right? Just because the pledge may not be said in class.
Is it allowed now? Do you have a is it allowed?
Give it.
And if we do, they're gonna wanna get rid of the start table dinner.
Give him a minute.
So to answer your question, Mr. Gardner, and to the teacher, the second grade teacher, thank you for being a teacher. Thank you for being there. What happens every minute of the day, I can't account for it, right? But I would say that just because something is not permitted during instructional time does not necessarily mean that it's not going to be said at other times on school property, facilitated by school staff, or permitted by school administration, right? Clearly, this is a thing that is evolving. Obviously, this is a thing that's evolving. How many people in this room knew the pledge was not being said in every single elementary school? So a few of you, right? Not many of you, and I don't know who's in the other room, and I don't know who's online, right? So there is a large degree, to include myself, of ignorance on what is actually happening in our schools about the pledge, to include myself. So this is a process by which we are all learning more about this. And again, what is highlighted it for the board is that clearly a clear set of directions is required, which, as I said before, we will take final action on at next month's board. So I want to continue to go around. I'll loop back around there. I also
You have a raised hand online.
Okay, for those folks who are in just the adjacent room, I don't know that there's a clear way for you to make it known from over there that you want to speak. So I would just invite you to speak in the door, and then you can resume you can take your speak. But we'll continue to do our swoop around and.
Out here, so you do it.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry, I think I saw another hand up over here. Yes, please.
Yeah, I just want to say 2 quick things. My name is Shara Sternberg. I live in Shaftesbury. I graduated from Shaftesbury Elementary School. I now have a kindergartner in Shaftesbury Elementary School, and I will have 2 more children in Shaftesbury Elementary School. I am very proud of that school. The
all got an email this morning that any student that wanted to do the pledge could do it outside.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Follow it down to the minority.
Let her speak in the cafeteria.
Okay, the other thing I wanted to add to your comment is that, I think the holiday issues do need to be addressed because I am Jewish and Hanukkah is not a major holiday. The major holidays are right now, and I'm here. And so I invite you to come so we can come up with a more inclusive plan on that.
I'd be happy.
So folks, as I said in the outset, I anticipate that we can all be adults, and I acknowledge that there are lots of heightened emotions and feelings about this, I really do. But in order for us to have a worthwhile conversation, I'm gonna ask that we not speak over each other, that we not start booing in the middle of other people speaking, right? We can all have, no one, I'm not kicking anybody out. We can be here all night long, and I promise, everyone who wants to speak can speak. But please, let us do it one at a time, and let us treat it with each other with at least the mutual respect to allow a person to share their thoughts on this, please. So, and I know I saw it. Yes, please, hi.
Hi, my name's Elaine Sherman. I am the president of the Gifted Post Auxiliary. I'm here in Bennington, and I had my children well into school year. Part of what we do as an auxiliary is we go into the schools. And I know a lot of people here go into the schools and teach flag etiquette and what it means. So having a teacher decide that they don't want to do it in their classroom limits us to where we can go to educate and mentor our youth. That's all I want to say.
Keep moving in this direction. Yes, sir. Hi.
Hey, yes.
Yes.
I live in Bennington.
Just middle. Yeah, I'm sorry, please go ahead.
I'm a brown water naval veteran of Vietnam, and I just want to state my opinion.
Please.
I can't believe this even came up on the table. This is America. We give you the freedom of speech. But we also would like our flag and our pledge of allegiance respected. And my opinion is, whatever nitwit came up with this idea ought to be sent to a country that he likes better.
We're not name calling.
Why are you name calling? That's really rude, yeah.
There are some people online with no names, so I'm not letting them, just for my name. Wants to try and get a meeting, they have to put a name.
Yeah. And what we'll do, I think I said this before, we're gonna give priority to folks who are present, physically in the building, and then we'll turn it over to folks online. So continue. Okay. Hi. Hi, how are you? Okay, so over here. Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Andrea Hunt. I kind of have a little bit of a different opinion. I personally am against mandates in general. I'll just leave it at that. I don't feel it should be mandated because I know there's people even scripturally that feel that they shouldn't be taking certain oaths. I'm okay with people that don't want to participate. Done a lot of history research, but I come from a long line of veterans, so I feel that that should be an option, should be allowed in the school. My other concern is that it's speaking with younger people, teens, 20s. Half of our population doesn't even know we live in a republic. They think it's a democracy.
Right.
And isn't that part of the pledge? So where are we failing in this educational system so that they have a basic idea of how all of this stuff works? That's alarming to me that people, adults don't even know we live in a republic. I just find that alarming. So I don't believe in a mandate. I believe if people have issues, I'm familiar with the Bellamy salute and history behind that. I understand that, but I do feel it should be an option. And I'm sorry, I don't celebrate Christmas anymore. Does that mean I don't let anybody else around me celebrate Christmas? No, it means I do my own thing and I respectfully bow out. And parents need to teach their kids that. That's my opinion.
Forbidden teacher, what to say, reminds me of my experience in the Cold War against the evil empires. That's dictatorship in my mind. Telling somebody don't do it, that's beating that you can't have freedom of speech anymore. I consider it dictatorship by telling teachers.
We happen to know if anyone is from the next room? Thank you.
We have one over here.
Raise your hand. I'm being patient. No one else, okay, great, right now. So, hi. Thank you. I too wrote things down, but try to keep myself in line.
And again, folks, if you wouldn't mind, please just introducing yourself and letting us know what community you're from. Thank you.
I'm Richard Setzler. I'm a 16-year service member, three deployments, chaplain of the Vermont Veterans Center. And I too would like to invite anybody here to come to the Vermont Veterans Home someday and tell them that they can't say the Pledge of Allegiance. Another grandkid can't say the Pledge of Allegiance. So let's see what kind of reception you get. But today I stand before you to discuss a matter that transcends the boundaries of our classrooms. It's a matter of national identity, unity, and respect for the sacrifices that have shaped our great nation. I urge you to support the inclusion of the Pledge of Allegiance in our schools, allowing our students the choice to recite it. The pledge is not merely a collection of words, it embodies the principles upon which this country was founded. As we reflect on the tradition, we must remember the wisdom of President Ronald Reagan, who said, "Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. That must be fought for, protected, and handed out for them to do the same." The Pledge of Allegiance serves as a daily reminder of the values of liberty, justice for all, values that have been forged through the struggles and sacrifices of countless Americans. Incorporating the pledge into our school curriculum presents an opportunity to educate our students about the rich history and meaning behind the Declaration. We must dive into this origins and penned in 1892 by Francis Bellamy and consider the evolution that over the years. Our students should learn about the significance of the national anthem, the American flag, symbols and represent our unity and the ideals we cherish. We must also take the time to honor the brave men and women who have our armed forces, soldiers, Marines, sailors, airmen, Coast Guard personnel, not to mention all those that serve in the reserves that protected our freedoms. Sacrifices made by these individuals, many of whom made the ultimate sacrifice, should be etched in our hearts and minds. We must remember the prisoners of war who have not returned yet. And we must teach our students, no matter what age level they are, at their level, about this. I think it's important, and a lot of us here are guilty of one thing, being complacent and allowing this to happen over the years. And you guys are guilty for allowing it to go out without communicating directly with the public. And I want to make a motion, and now I'm doing this out of being upset. Mr. Colkeen,
If this passes.
I would like to make a motion that he resign as the superintendent of the school board. I don't care, I'm saying it.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion as the public, he resigned because he didn't spend enough time here in this town running the school, from what I see.
So, Mr. Spencer, there's no function for
I'm just saying,
to make a motion.
I'll voice my opinion, okay?
That's fine.
So I just think that we should take that into consideration as taxpayers.
So
Thank you.
Are you gonna go after the national anthem next?
Yeah, there's nothing that's on the
You're
floor.
gonna-
Well, sir,
Prepare
there's no.
and a national anthem,
Sir, there's no ban.
just like they do in the NFL.
No ban. So there's
And the sports. Teach them respect.
I guess I heard that.
Harry James Percy Jr. School, Bennington, Powell, and high school. 12-year veteran. Continue to volunteer in the community. This is very upsetting to me, especially when I hear adolescent age, it's harder to teach. In my opinion, you're getting paid to teach. So you should find a way to teach those meanings of those large words and break it down to that younger level so they understand that. It's very important for our country so they know the meaning of the flag, how it became, the pledge, what the words mean, Star Spangled Banner. there's significant historical value in our forefathers, mothers, families lost a lot of blood and sweat for us to become what we are today. And it's just saddens me that it's just kind of thrown in the air with a haphazard. It's just very upsetting. I know personally, and when you're overseas, you if you're down and out because you've lost a fellow service member, you look at that flag and you remember what you're doing, what you're doing. Your family and your country and your God. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kelly Carroll. I've been a resident of Bennington since 1969. I've raised all three of my kids. They've all graduated from Mount Anthony Union High School. I have a 5-year-old grandson in Arlington, right now starting kindergarten. And we're working on the Pledge of Allegiance. We're explaining to him the importance of that, especially when he looks at the hometown hero banners and he's got a couple of great grandfathers up there. And I have to tell you, I find this extremely disheartening, frustrating. I see some people speaking. I see a couple of smirks around the table. I hear a couple of our educators talking about developmental with age. And I think one of the biggest problems that we have right now is underestimating our youth. My grandson was 3 years old and worked a tablet, a cell phone. He can work my VCR, all that stuff better than I can. And you're telling me that he shouldn't be learning Republic and the Pledge of Allegiance because he's developmentally too low? I think our problem is that we underestimate our youth. And I think it's time that we start to up our standards and explain to them and start young what this means. Teach the respect, teach the pride in our country. I think we need to stop with the excuses that our youth aren't going to understand Republic or allegiance, because I think they understand a whole lot more than we're giving credit for. And I think they deserve to walk into those classrooms. And I have a lot of respect for teachers. I have a lot of respect for educators. I would never in a million years be a good one myself. So thank you for taking care of our kids. But don't sell them short by saying, oh, you're 5 years old. You're not going to understand what Republic means, so I'm not even going to try. That's wrong. They deserve better, and I'm going to tell you something. Richard, I'm right with you. Shame on you. 1 day a week does not give the support to the assistant superintendent or the teachers. Thank you very much.
This is not about. I truly, but folks, what this is about right now, the public comment. If anyone has any concern or any complaints about any school employee, there's a process for voicing those. There's absolutely a process. But coming in and lambasting a person during public comment isn't the way to do it. So just like on the website, it has all of our email addresses.
I will send a letter and I apologize to the superintendent.
Thank you. Yes, sir. And with blue answer. Hi.
Oh, I was getting.
Oh, gosh.
I would like to add, just to touch on that briefly, we hear this, that they aren't able to understand it and the words are too big for them. That is my job, to get a child to understand lots of stuff. And I explain it in many different ways all day long. And we have this giant behavior matrix in every classroom and in every area at our school with vocabulary on there that is way over their heads. But we expect them to honor that and follow that with those, expected behaviors. But then we say that they can't understand the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't see that connection.
Yeah.
I am Clark Adams, resident of Bennington by choice. After spending over 25 years military service, I came to this town because of the wonderful people in this town, and I want to make it a better town. I'm the son of veterans, the father of veterans, husband of a veteran. One thing I've noticed amongst our youth, and maybe somebody read about it, we're having a hard time getting young people who serve this country in uniform. When they start off this high, hearing their country denigrated or ignored or whatever, by the time they're this high, they've heard it for 15 years of their life. And then you're going to turn around and ask them,
put their lives on the line for the rest of us. What do you think they're gonna do or not gonna do? This flag and this whole process, in my mind, is part of the problem. The young people of this country, or even some of the old people like me, don't appreciate what a wonderful country we have here. And we have to make sure our young people understand that. I just came back from visiting the largest American war cemetery in Europe. I pulled up in the rental car and there was a Dutch couple with a small child. They got out of their car, they went into this cemetery and they went to a grave and put flowers on the grave of an American soldier who their family adopted in 1946. Their grandparents, their parents, and them, and they brought their 3-year-old daughter there. Made me cry.
Yeah.
And I come home and I hear people squawking about saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I grew up saying it. My grandchildren say it. And for what it stands, I'll go to my grave believing it. I expect our society, as manifested by teachers and all of us as citizens, to continue educating our children in the world, the importance of that flag and what it means to us as Americans. Thank you.
I have to say, I'm proud to be an American. My husband was in the service, I was in the service, my son's in the Navy, 2 nephews, Air Force, 1's Marines. The stuff that we've gone through, you have no idea unless you've been in it. You have no idea what we've done for this country. And the disrespect, you keep saying there wasn't a band, I don't want to hear that, because it was a verbal one. My great nephew at Shasbury, he was told, oh, he could say the Pledge of Allegiance, but he'd be frowned on. That was from his teacher. So there was a verbal band, whether you say it's writing or not, how many times you say it. I'm sorry, you're wrong. There was one. And I'm proud to be an American, and I'm proud to stand with this flag, and so is my family. And enough of this. If you don't want to be in America, go somewhere else. We need to respect our country. Please. Be here. We went through unbelievable things. You'll have no idea. Have some respect.
Yes, this.
Lisa Baker from Powell, but I grew up in Bennington. My father was retired Air Force, and he taught me, and I in turn taught my children from the time they could stand, when to stand for the flag, to say the Pledge of Allegiance, and the understanding eventually came later. I believe that we should not provide any less to the children that are in the school systems now.
Yes, my name is Joe Guzan. I'm president of the VFW Riders, veteran myself, infantry veteran, proud veteran. I think a lot of the problem that we have here is that as a lot of these guys were patriots and veterans, is we feel slighted when you do something with the American flag, when you take away the Pledge of Allegiance. It's an insult. So I think a lot of the anger comes from being personally hurt. I was a veteran, my father was a veteran. I have a story, a really quick story about this, talk about educators. I think it was 9th grade in Mount Anthony. I had a history teacher who was teaching World War II history. And he came around and he handed out articles of his that we found out through the class, not ahead of time, that he was a veteran. The weird thing was when his canteen cup came around, engraved in it was every battle that he fought in World War II. Now, being a rotten little shithead kid that we were when we were that age, we made fun of him before that day. You know, we making fun of the teacher, the way he looked, oh, it's his teacher, blah, 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 just being regular kid jerks. But reading that cup and realizing this man had been to Okinawa, Iwo Jima, just about every battle in the Pacific. And he took the time to share it with us. That made a huge difference in how I looked at America and how I looked at the people who taught. And I think that's a problem where we don't have that anymore. We don't have the teachers who want to teach that American history, that type of history. The way he taught that, he didn't speak about it. He just showed us what it was. I found it amazing. It really changed my outlook. I think we need to do more of that in our school district. And I'm from Powell, so.
Mr. Design, are you able to see if there's anyone else in next door who wants to share anything?
If not, we do have somebody back here.
Hey, yeah, we'll make another, we'll be sure. to make another
Is
set.
it possible to fix the camera?
You can't see all the board members.
Board members, or can all the
Maybe you
board
guys
members
can-
get in the
So-
frame?
I think, I don't know the answer to that.
I think body language says a lot of people watching online, and a lot of people are gonna have choices to make during the next election. I think it's important that we have the entire board in the picture.
I would also say, again, because this board is not taking any action tonight, it's public comment, the discussion from the board members will be happening next week. Or, sorry, I keep saying next week, next month is what I mean to say, next month. Is there anyone,
Yes.
Would you-
Do you want to unmute or do you want them to come over?
what, are they able to come over, please? Yeah, I just.
My name is Michelle Morgan Crowe, and I went to school here, grew up here. This year I turned 60 years old. And I went to, because my family moved a lot, I went to, in elementary school, I went to Shaftesbury, went to Benel, I went to Catamount, and I also went to Sacred Heart. And as everybody was talking, I can remember, it was every day we did the Pledge of Allegiance. And I can remember at a young age, I may not have understood it, but every year of school I did, and I learned that how important the flag was. And when you're taught American history, you understand that as well, and you learn more and more about it. And like in elementary, like second and third grade, we would walk to the museum to learn the Battle of Bennington. So I think kids learning it right at kindergarten and understand how important the flag is, that I appreciated it. And as I got older, being a teenager going to Arlington Cemetery, I was like, wow, as you get older, I mean, we all love our country. And I learned it more as a young girl saying the Pledge of Allegiance. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Would you mind just checking if there's anyone else? Thank you, Father.
Excuse me.
Yeah, let me swing right around. I want to make sure we're not missing the folks in the other room. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Yes, hello.
My name is Jerry Shaftesbury, and thanks for giving us all this opportunity to share our thoughts and feelings. I do hope we are all respectful of one another. That's what being pluralist means after all, right? I think the first question I have, and I know you're not obligated and you don't have to answer this, but I would almost like to see numbers as to how many folks have objected, parents have objected. Is it 5%, 10%? Do you have statistics on that? I mean, you don't have to answer for that too. And I just wondered that. And I think we certainly should, as one person said over here, respect those people who don't wish to do that. They may have whatever reason to object, and I think we respect their rights for that. But that being said, if we require our national leaders, our military personnel, and our new citizens to affirm their allegiance, shouldn't we be willing to, as citizens of this country? And I do think that a very interesting one, what was said about children not quite understanding the words. Children don't quite understand a lot of things. That's part of the growing process. And they'll find out what allegiance means, a republic, and all those big $10 words, I think, without much of a problem. Many of you know that the pledge was first written in 1892, so it has over 100 years of precedent in our country. And I would really ask Dave, person or persons who have their objection, be interesting for them to step forward and share, you know, if they're here with us tonight, why they object. I mean, it is a pledge of loyalty to our country, and I think loyalty is important. And I think all of us can pledge our loyalty, and doing it on a regular basis reinforces that, and it helps us to be better Americans doing so. I actually wrote them down, I'm not gonna read them because it's too long. But, you know, the president takes an oath, right, to preserve and protect the Constitution. Members of the Senate and House take an oath to preserve and protect the Constitution. For those of you, I'm not gonna ask for raise of hands, but for the veterans, they've all taken an oath.
Oh, yeah.
He did, okay? So they took an oath. But I want to share just this one because I did think it's funny. A naturalized citizen says, I hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, don't you love that word? For America, that is state or sovereignty of whom or which I hereby am subject to, and I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States. People take oaths all over the place in our country. And it was under this flag that our country was founded, and it was under this flag that our nation, going through a horrific civil war, remained united. And it was under this flag that not once, but twice in 1 century, that world conflicts were decided. And I think for me, most profoundly was under this flag that Buchenwald and his 20,000 internees were freed by American forces from that horrific experience during World War II. And it was under this flag that troops liberated Dachau, Dora Mittelwald, Flossenburg, and Mauthausen concentration camps. That flag was a sign of hope for all of those people suffering in that horrific situation. And I guess my question is, if we are to require our leaders, our military personnel, our new citizens to affirm themselves, why would we not do so willingly and encourage our teachers? Again, with respect to those who object. But if, as it is my suspicion, it's a very small minority of people respecting their rights, but have this as something that they will indeed grow into.
My name's Althea Kane. I was born and raised in this lovely town, raised my children. I have the privilege of working for the Vermont Veterans Home. I work in finance. But maybe our superintendent and the lovely Mr. Johnson from Shasbury, maybe he should go and visit the Veterans Home. Maybe just walk the cemetery and see all the people that are just buried there in that one little small cemetery that served our country. Walk the halls. So many of these people are suffering because they served our country. All sorts of illnesses, and they're anywhere from 48 on up. You know, just walk that. You should be proud of our veterans, our military, and we should say the Pledge of Allegiance. And we should teach our youth.
Terry Johnson, American Legion Post 13, and I live in Bennington. Quickly, for those people that don't know or don't understand, listen to the Red Skeleton Star Spangled Banner. That's it.
I just, hi, I'm Kate, I'm from North Bennington, and I have elementary school age kids. And I just wanted to say that I don't believe that the pledge should be said in schools. It absolutely has nothing to do with how much respect I have for every veteran that has served. My dad was a vet, my grandfather was a vet, and I can't thank you enough for the service that you've given to this country. It has nothing to do with the respect that I have for the men and women that have served. It has to do with me not wanting, and I heard a gentleman back here say the word indoctrinate. I want my children to make that decision for themselves. I respect that you have a different opinion. I hope that you respect that I do as well.
Hi, I'm Landon from Arlington. I happen to be the husband of the offending teacher. So I'm really close to the matter. I've actually, I I've seen this unfold. So the sophistry in the wordplay keeps saying it wasn't a ban. That's not fair. She was told, can't say it. But aside from that, I'd like to say that I get grievance. I understand it. We've done, as a country, and no offense to any of the veterans, we've done some pretty terrible things. We continue to do that today. But I think what my side, the side that wants the pledge, is saying is you can sit it out and you can teach your kids why. But to tell everybody else because you don't like that no one can is actually really disgusting. And I also want to address the vitriol I actually saw online. It wasn't from the right wing, the right wing, it really wasn't. People were outraged. But the more actual, the most vile things I saw were from the people in opposition. You can't continue to think that half of the country is stupid or uneducated because they don't vote like you. So again, what we're saying is, you don't want to say it. We're not making you say it. What we're hearing is no, nobody gets to say it. Do you see the distinction? Does everybody understand that? Okay? So teach your kids your values. That's the point. But I will address, because this is what I saw online a lot, and you just used the word, indoctrinate. I get it. But in the same breath, our children, maybe some more conservative parents' children, are being indoctrinated every day. You know, and it's by teachers, by your worldview, by your worldview. Our wives, our husbands, everybody in the education system has to sit through PEI training. That's mandatory. Not everybody agrees with that. But I think in your arrogance of your own worldview, you don't see that people, you can't even fathom that somebody else would oppose those things. And immediately it's easy to dismiss, oh, they gotta be racist, they gotta be homophobic. All that stuff is sophistry to get your own way. I'm just speaking directly, use the word. I'm not accusing you, I'm sorry. But really, it does come down to ideology. And all I wanted to say is, our side is saying, you don't want to say it? Don't fucking say it. Teach your kids why. That's it. It's that simple. It's that simple. But you can't tell everybody else to not celebrate Christmas because you don't. That's fair. You don't want to do it. I think it's a pretty libertarian view to say, hey man, and I don't think it's ostracizing the child. Cut it out with all that. Come on, really. Stop with all that. Again, it's up to the parent. Do not trust the school system. Do not trust your government to teach your values. You're not going to do it. It's up to you as a parent. It's up to you as a person to instill that. The pledge is important because of all of these men and women that have served and sacrificed and lost their lives. It also should represent, the pledge, the flag should represent those grievances as well. I believe it does. You don't have to. But that's all I'm saying. This is an ideological war. Let's not pretend it isn't. So all we're saying is, you don't want to say it, nobody's making it. It's been that way. It's been voluntary until a week ago. My biggest problem with this issue is you're telling us that now we can. That's not true.
Roberta Roberts, I lived in Vermont for 35 years, raised my children here in Bennington, Shasberry. I myself went to Molly Start, 5 years old, remember saying the Pledge of Allegiance every day. It was just there. There's too much culture canceling going on in this world these days for you to take this away from all these people that fought for our country. It just can't happen. It should not be allowed. You guys are taking children's books and now this. I mean, we're supposed to believe nothing else is gonna be next. The Star Spangled Banner. I mean, come on. I believe I was raised on the flag. I respect this flag. I respect my country. I taught my children to respect this flag, respect the country, respect all these veterans that fought for their lives so they could grow up and have children of their own. I have grandchildren. I'm gonna be adopting my niece who's 10 years old. I'm afraid to put her into these schools.
Because everything's getting canceled, that matters. And it shouldn't happen. This is for these veterans. And it shouldn't be canceled.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Lisa from Bennington. I just have a quick question for you, no disrespect or anything. You did say that you didn't agree with it. You have children, correct? Okay. You also made a comment of letting your children decide. Yes. So if your children want to, will they be allowed to say it? Absolutely. Okay, but you don't agree with it being said in schools. That's right.
May I ask that?
That's all I wanted to know.
If they are not educated in saying it, how do they know that they don't want to say it or are they going to say
Just
it?
like this gentleman said, right? We're the parents, so we're the ones responsible for teaching them those things, not the schools.
Oh, let me see, I'm Chuck Forrest. One Beach Street.
Mr. Forrest, folks, I'm just hearing a lot of background. If we could give one person at a time, please.
Yeah, from Beach Street all the way up to Mount Anthony, Navy veteran. My son, my father, veterans, grandfather, every person mostly in my family. My son got a full ride to university, Sacred Heart, 2000 when he graduated from mine for wrestling. Sophomore year, 9/11 happened. Gave up his scholarship, went in the Marine Corps, served in Afghanistan and Iraq. And if he didn't know about the flag and the tradition of saying the pledge, I mean, that was just brought up in our family, that was given. I mean, that was given, that was something that we were brought up with. And you gotta give that choice, no matter if you like it or not, you gotta give it to these children in the school. You gotta give it to them. You gotta weigh it. I mean, it's gotta, you know, they wanna say it, they don't wanna say it. When you say the pledge, guilt, going to the military. I swear, right? Allegiance to this country, right? And there's two, everybody that said this, you know, knows the two words that you can either say one or the other, right? So without you teaching them or giving them the opportunity to learn the pledge, how are they gonna know whether or not they wanna do it? That's my question.
I don't know if I'm allowed.
Sure. Because it's respectable, because it's okay, I think it's good.
I guess my response to that would be that I would fully expect that the teachers would teach the Pledge of Allegiance in school, but not that they would lead the students in it every day.
But rebuttal with you, you said that you won't teach it.
Oh, no, not that I wouldn't teach it, it should certainly be part of the curriculum, in my opinion, it's just leading that every day, and isolating the children that don't want to do it. That's the thing that I don't agree. And again, I totally respect your opinion, I really do.
So folks, I wanna note the time, so we spent an hour and 15 minutes with public comment. We have one person online now, thanks for just a moment, so again, I am perfectly happy, and whether I should or not, I'm gonna speak for the rest of the board, we're perfectly happy to stick around and continue to field comments about this. There is more on the agenda, and I really hope that everyone also sticks around for that, because you get to see more of the fun stuff that the board gets to do right now. That was a nice moment. Anyway, okay, so if folks do have more to add, by all means, can do, I just wanna make folks aware of the time. So let's start with the blue hat, I think I saw your hand.
So I'm a Desert Storm vet. My father was a Vietnam vet. He was in the Philippines and will go from the Philippines to Saipan. At Saipan, he would come in, all the planes bringing the caskets from Vietnam, they would load them up and send them over here. My grandfather was in Europe, his father. My other grandfather was over in the Pacific, and my step-grandfather was a bomber pilot. I learned from those three men what the pledge meant, especially at night with my father's father. Watching him have night terrors, that is not easy. I learned the pledge from them, and these children in the schools should also learn it. Out of respect for everybody in the country, not just the vets, everybody in the country.
We just brought home, the remains of a World War II vet, to Clarksburg, Mass. PFC King was in the United States Marine Corps, and he died. His parents signed for him to go in underage at 17. He died at the age of 18. 82 years later, we brought him home. It was nice that Drury High School was right across from the cemetery. They sent 30 kids down, and we put flags, American flags, all along the parade route. The day of the funeral, we escorted them down, and Drury was playing the band, so they had all the high school kids, McCann, and that gave us a glimmer of hope, anyways. But if these kids were to witness something like that, I think it, and everyone, it kind of changes the way you feel.
I told there's something back there. Mary, only the reason why.
No, I love Mary, go ahead, Mary.
I'm saddened that we had to be here this evening for this topic. Most all of us in this room grew up saying the pledge and having respect for our country, our flag, our pledge of allegiance. My dad was World War II veteran in Japan. I have always thought it was important for especially students to understand that the privileges we have in today, whether we want to say the pledge or not, is based upon the service of these fine men and women in this room and across the country. I guess my question to all of you is, how is this going to roll out? Because it's very obvious you didn't do your homework. You came to say that no, it wasn't banned, and yet the teacher was told it was banned. So that's a misstep amongst all of you here, and again, I'm not trying to find fault with you. But how is this going to fairly go forward in a process that's going to be respectful to this community and also respectful to those who don't want to say it? I understand there's a fine line there, but this has to be an open process with, again, I have to just say, I almost knocked my hand against my head, thinking we're even having to discuss this issue. It's a disgrace.
Yes.
I will speak to that question when we're wrapped up with public comment about next steps.
How this is going to go and how people can still participate.
Sure. Then, Mr. Bisson, are you able to see if there's anyone next door?
Sure.
Thank you. And sir, while we're at it.
You say that there's no ban on, in any school, so that means the young teacher can start her pledge of allegiance in Shasberry tomorrow.
So let me,
There's no ban.
and let me speak to that, right? So many of us probably have jobs, and many of us probably can't just go in and do whatever it is that we want to at our jobs, right? Like there are rules that govern and guide what we're allowed to do while we're on the clock, right? Again, not getting into any particulars about what any principal has decided, because we, as I said in the outset, we have up until now, I suppose, empowered our building principals to figure out how and if the pledge is going to be delivered in their classrooms, right? Thank you. So to that point, is the pledge going to be said at Shaftesbury? I expect it, probably. I think it has. I think it has every morning since then. Is it going to be permitted to be said in every classroom by whatever teacher whenever they want to? Probably not. Sir, only because, as I said, if you have a boss, you're not just allowed, unless you are self-employed, you can't just do whatever it is you want to do when you're on the clock.
So what's
Yeah.
Well, it's, and I would say now, it is, so let me, so, is Mr. Bislon, I believe that somebody was out from the. Yes, sir, please.
My name's Terry Stacy. I've lived in Shasbury all my life. 4 years I served in the Marine Corps. Everyone's pretty well hit on everything in here, except for nobody's really said what everyone in this room is here. It's freedom. The flag represents the freedom. These servicemen give you that freedom. You all have to take in consideration, especially the lady there that says she opposes it. It's freedom. You're all here because of freedom. Wherever foreign people come from, they come here for the freedom. It's not a dictatorship country. This is the land of the free and the brave.
Here,
You act like it's no big deal.
I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I believe in freedom and I don't want my kids to be forced or ostracized.
Teach them what the flag is about.
I do, I have a flag.
Years, this flag has been in the country. It's been here for everybody because of freedom. Ronald Reagan in 1976 told you what red, white, and blue meant. Read about that. You'll understand it a lot better. Thank you.
Is there anyone who, so the folks, I'm kind of losing track, but if you have not yet spoken yet, I'd like to give you an opportunity first. Ma'am, please.
So, talked about students being Shirley Adams, I'm here in Bennington. Talk about students being ostracized if they don't participate. And I guess I see that a little bit differently. I respect their right not to participate. But to me, in a classroom, if a student is being ostracized because they're not participating, it's a learning opportunity. It's a learning opportunity for the instructor to say, that's not right. Everybody has an opinion, an equal opinion. So, I think there's another way to look at this also.
A second.
Hi there, Ashley Brush, Shasberry resident, also a fairly new teacher at Shasberry Elementary. And I didn't prepare anything because I was not planning on speaking, so I really hope I don't throw up. And I really hope that I get through what so I guess I just would like to, well, I appreciate and I respect all the comments and everyone that is here and the reasons that they are here. I hope I can try and kind of bring this back around to the kids, to the students, and to what this fine young gentleman back here, who I claim mine, spoke about earlier with just policy and communication. Jeff Johnson is not a bad man. He's not a bad principal. I don't want people to walk out of here with all of these terrible, he is a good man. He does his job, he does it enthusiastically and wholeheartedly. I do think that he was misguided or thrown under the bus maybe, or there was some miscommunication as far as what policy was about the Pledge of Allegiance. The Pledge of Allegiance was said every morning at Shasberry. During COVID, my stepdaughter said it every morning with Mr. Johnson via computer. When I started my job at Shasberry, I personally did not do the pledge with my class because for about a year or so prior to that, the Pledge of Allegiance had stopped being said as a school, as a group. So I just sort of assumed that it had been a hot topic, something had happened, and I wasn't going to ruffle that feather. So I didn't observe it in my classroom. That being said, I think going back to with policy, communication, I don't think it's something that should be mandatory in our classrooms. I don't think it's something that should be banned in our classrooms. I do believe it is something that should be left to choice, to both the educators and to the students. Touching on a couple of comments, I teach second grade as well, and while perhaps there are some words or definitions that our students are maybe not yet completely aware of, standing up for that 30 seconds every morning to pledge allegiance, whether they choose to or not, because it was never made mandatory by any of the teachers at Shasberry. Students always have the choice. And they have the choice to say, to pledge under God or not under God. There is choice here. And that's what this is about. I do think that the kids have and need to have the choice whether or not they would like to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I think away from the definitions of the words verbatim, I do think it shows and promotes unity and pride and respect. And I also think that it allows those friends who choose not to say the pledge perhaps have their own mantra, their own prayer, their own affirmation, something that they say or that they observe or that they acknowledge. That's their time. They can do that. They can observe that and say what they need to say that is important to them. They're not pushing their agenda on anyone. We're not pushing our agenda on them. It is a choice. And I think by taking away the choice, what is that telling our children? The classroom is a place, it's supposed to be a safe space where we can introduce ideas and laws and kids, this is the place where kids get introduced to these things, where it should be a safe place that they can ask questions and that they can have discussions and that they can make their own choices. What happens or is said at home? Well, that's at home, right? We can't control that, but we can control what's in our classrooms. And I think that by eliminating any sort of choice is really is doing a disservice to our children. And just quick, I think it was the superintendent's part of talking about by making children say the pledge that it singles kids out or makes kids feel different. I don't want to I don't want to misquote.
The notion of the opting out, that's an opt out is
Make them
highlights differences. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, that's the.
so if we look around our community looks very different today than it did 10 years ago or 20 years ago. There are a lot of differences, different things, different people, different cultures, different ideas, religions. There's lots of difference in our community now. And we are teaching the general public. And that's part of life. I mean, kids are going to have to make choices and face these differences throughout their entire life. And if we can't provide them that safe space and that time to explore things and ask their questions and feel their feels and, you know, make those choices, when did they have that opportunity and how is that setting them up for any sort of success or for just any sort of compassion and honoring differences and respecting differences and just knowing that not everybody's like you and that's okay. That's okay. You make your choices, they make their choices, and it is okay to be different, but to also be a community and to respect each other's differences and to go about their life in that way. So like I said, I should have written this down because my mouth now is so hot and dry that I can't even speak. My main point is that I would really hate to see the choice taken away. And that I think the kids deserve the choice and they deserve to make their own decisions and that the classroom continue to be a place where, you know, they're introduced to all walks of life in any way, shape, or form. Thank you.
If I first make sure that everyone else anyone who's not yet spoken has something to say.
I suppose I have kind of a point, it's kind of a point.
I'm sure lots of people have points, sir, but I want to ask the people who have not yet had.
Kind of a point of order, okay?
So, public comment, the point of order is determined by the chair, and I'm determining that it's her turn to speak.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, please.
My name is Rachel Blumenthal. I was a teacher in the early ed program for 19 years. I live in Shasberry. I just want to ask what the next part of the process is, because I think this is an extremely difficult kind of conversation because it goes really deep to who you are as a human being. I mean, this is, you know, there's God conversation and there's a flag conversation. I think this is really, really deep. I also hear a lot of common ground, and I just think it's an amazing opportunity for us as a community to begin to do. It's going to be kind of messy. It's really hard, but to do the work to come together because I think we all share this, you know, we're all here trying to make this the best it can be and the safest. So what's the process next? Because it's, I think that the success will rely on how you guys structure up.
Yep, and so, and I'll speak to that at the closing, like, I'll sort of wrap up what our next steps are for sure moving forward. Anyone else who's not yet spoken? Yeah. Sir, so just gonna first turn to people who have not yet spoken.
What's that?
I'm gonna turn to people who have not yet had a chance to share, and then I'll circle back. I'm gonna ask you to use the honor system. I don't remember if you've spoken yet or not, sir, but I'll trust you if you say no. Okay, it's all you.
Steve Greenslip, Commander Post 13 here in Bennington. I've been listening to everything and, you know, they're saying, well, the kids that don't want to say it, there's kids that might want to say it. The only thing I can say is, how do you know if the kids know what they're going to say? I think this whole thing should be taught at home, started at home about the flag, and then the kids can choose their own mind then. But I think, you know, you send your kids to school and if they don't know anything about the flag or everything else, it doesn't do any good. Down the Legion, we used to have a couple people that every time in NASCAR something came on and national anthem come on, we always stand up. And we had a couple people down there that didn't. So we had a banner made up that we hung on the wall down the post and it says, out of respect, we stand for the flag. Well, those people came back and and our rule down there now is if it comes on, you don't stand out the door. You go out the doors and stand till it's over. But I do think that, you know, I think this flag thing and teaching the kids the flag starts at home.
I think everyone who has had their hand up has already spoken, so I'm gonna turn to the person, if there's anyone still online.
Two online.
Okay, Felix first.
I'll unmute. Megan, unmute.
So Megan online, hopefully you're
Oh,
unmuted. Where's yours?
I am here and I have been waiting my 90 minutes to speak. Thank you so
very
much.
Thank you.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. My name's Megan Gunn and I have two children at Shaftesbury Elementary, and obviously I live in Shaftesbury. I want to say, first of all, to put this out there, I have so much respect for veterans. I have many family members that are veterans, so I want to get that out there. I have a few points, but I will be quick because obviously this has gone on for a long time. First of all, people keep coming back to if this is a ban or not. No one is banning children from saying the pledge. Actually, Jeff Johnson sent out an email today that gave some alternative ideas, which I think people might not have heard earlier because people were kind of laughing when someone was trying to make the point. But he said that A, they could stop at the flagpole and say it on the way into school, or B, go down to the gym and say it to the flag that's in the gym between 8 and 8:30, which is like the arrival time when there's no formal class happening. So no one is banning it being said. It was that teachers can't lead the pledge, is my understanding. I also, it's kind of been said by both sides, so I find this very interesting. People have said it's up to parents to be teaching their kids. So then if it's really important to families, maybe it should be said at home by the families that feel that it's really important. That's, if it's so important, then you can say it at home. Then number two, the other point is people have kept saying we need to learn American history. We need to learn the meaning behind the pledge. They need to learn the pledge. Again, it's not being said. I think it's really important that American history is taught. I think it's important that the pledge even be taught. And I actually think a lot of people, adults on both sides of this issue, don't even understand the history behind the pledge. That can be done. That can be absolutely done in schools without leading the pledge daily, which is what a lot of people are promoting. And then number three, many times I've heard many times tonight, the pledge teaches respect. I completely disagree. The pledge does not teach respect. And actually many people who want the pledge to be spoken and led every day at school have not showed respect tonight. There's been lack of respect for the board. There's been speaking over each other, and there's been telling people to go back to other countries if you do not want the pledge to be said. So therefore, the pledge is not teaching us all respect. There are other ways to learn respect. And last, a lot of people feel that they'll have pride in this country once there actually is liberty and justice for all, as the pledge says, and currently there is not. So once there is, maybe more people will take pride in this country. Thank you for your time.
Scott. All right, is there a second person on that?
Are you gonna hold a vote tonight?
No, sir.
Well, why don't you do it in front of all these people?
So I'll
You're
speak.
gonna go in as
No, sir. It will be public and I'll explain what our next steps are as soon as everyone has had a chance to speak, sir.
yeah,
Promise.
you got no backbone.
Okay.
Right.
Superintendent Falcon, is that the person on?
Dave, I'm muted. Jerron.
Sorry, what's the name?
Jerron.
Jerron, if you can hear us, the floor is yours.
Yes, good evening.
Hi.
I'm listening to this, and I have a long lineage of veterans in my family. The problem here is not our school and our school board. The problem is that we live in a state, as there are about 4 or 5, I can't quote it. There are several states that do not require the Pledge of Allegiance to be said. So I think it's time for veterans to take this to a state level, not be beating up our school board and our school. It is not required in the state of Vermont. And also, if you know your Supreme Court history, it is not required and you cannot coerce anyone to say it. I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone else?
No one else. I don't see any other hands on it.
Any other first-time speakers? All right, any other first-time speakers who would like to speak? So for any second-time speakers, truly, I'm going to ask you to keep it to just a minute or so, since you've already had a turn and we do have other business tonight.
Quick question.
You gonna be all right?
I'm not gonna speak.
Okay, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Did the direction at Shasbury Elementary School come from Jim Harwood or Mr. Johnson? Did you guys do the pledge with him?
So-
Well, I know he's not, but did you do the pledge?
When Jim was principal,
And I-
they did.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, sir.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Yes, Mr. Buck.
All right, so, and again, talk about where I've been and stuff, and, I'll say, learning it at a young age and learning the respect of standing up. And I think it should be in school. I think it should be, if it's done in a electronic form and then everybody stands up and listens to it at 8 AM in any country that I've been on, and some are not so friendly. They play the allegiance to that country first, and then the United States national anthem. And we stand there out of respect and learn respect for other people, other nations that have beliefs that are way different than ours. Okay? I challenge anyone to maybe go visit a few of these and see how we would never have this conversation here. There'd be one person walking out and the other guy with a machine gun and the rest would be here. That's just the way it is. So, I'm happy that we can have this conversation, but it's teaching respect from a little age. We teach people not to steal. We teach them not to touch the stove. There's things that fundamental, like leave at home, but it's installed and it helps in schools. As an educator, that not every parent is a good parent. Okay? My mother told me once that not every child born is loved, and every adopted child knows they are. And the spirit of that is somebody comes to you and you are a teacher because you are adopting all those children and taking them. And you are being with them for a certain amount of time. And hopefully when they go to the next grade, you have transferred a better person. And that's all I'm saying. And that is one key of that. And that should be our goal, right? Our goal, I say this is the VFW, is the Legion. I'm sorry, I 2 more minutes.
Go ahead.
But we're all here for the same reason, okay? We're all here to make our community a better place, no matter what you are. We had these hometown banners. I'm very proud of those, okay? I don't have one, I have my own reasons for that, okay? I could see putting a school teacher up there. I put Mrs. Wells up there, okay? I put the lady that taught the resource room that does the flowers in North Bennington Park. She said, Norma, why are you so nice to me over here? She says, you know what? Because you taught me and let me get out of school. And then I became a senior chief in the United States Navy, which 1% ever get to. And I couldn't read or spell mechanic. Okay, because the teacher didn't give up on me. Because why? Because that teacher made a better person. And I also got to play football because of that. But, you know, that's what our goal is, and I'm sure that's what your goal is too. You're gonna make these decisions, they're not gonna come lightly. They're, you know, it's going to be, you know, hard. We're going to get on both sides, you know, the world of the 10, right? 2 extremes over here, 2 extremes over here, and the 6 in the middle, right? You're never gonna change these 4. Let's be the 6 in the middle. Let's listen to everybody and make good decisions to let better people come to our society. Because someday, that 5-year-old, that toddler, that 6-year-old is going to be sitting in these chairs, making decisions for the next generation.
We go to this.
And I didn't be the first guy to swear. I want my mother to know that.
Can't say I'm gonna prefer that anyway. So, yes, please go ahead.
Make a quick comment. Maybe I'm misinterpreting this, but I think one of the things that's concerning people is they're seeing an erosion of certain things and then promotion of others. I know you guys said that you felt that small children couldn't appreciate the wording of the allegiance, but yet, as a parent, I see things being introduced to children that I find alarming. And it's happening in Vermont, you know, children having to accept the opposite sex in their bathroom. Children have to accept a kitty litter in the corner and explain
So what
that.
I'd very much like to do is to keep this to the
Okay.
pledge, please.
So-
And I would also just note for the record, there has never once, and please do state this out, never once has there been a verified situation where there is a kitty litter box. Never once has that been verified. Never, ever once. Never, I swear to God, never, ever, ever once. I know people say it, and people hear it, and people read it on Facebook, and therefore it must be true. It is not true, has
So are
never
you
been true,
telling me
ever.
there was no issues in Vermont with opposite sex being in the bathroom?
I'm talking about kitty litter boxes is what I'm talking. That's what I'm talking.
In
Yeah.
Vermont?
In Vermont, I swear to God, in Vermont, it's not real. I don't know about elsewhere. I know it's
So
for
I
a
guess,
fact, it's
I
not
guess,
Vermont.
you know, everyone wants tolerance, but everyone has a different opinion on what should be tolerated and what shouldn't. I think that's part of the issue.
All right, let's go for it.
I would just like to remind everybody that this is the United States of America. And just on the piggyback of the teacher that was talking about letting everyone do as they would, that's why we're here. We have freedom. We have the right to do what we want to do as an individual. But we also, I used to take my kids every year for 20 years with a program for the veterans and for the United States of America. They learned the pledge, they learned the Star Spangled Banner, they learned that the Liberty Bell and the flag represent freedom. This is America. This is the United States of America. And where are our kids that live here and are citizens in our country? Where are they going to learn the oath? Where are they going to learn the freedoms that we have? It does not do the things that we do and the oath that we have. And we should be saying, if it's not every day, one day it's a celebration. Whenever they commune together, the Star Spangled Banner and the pledge should be done in our schools. Maybe not every day, but once a week when they're commune, just like we do at our basketball games or our baseball games, we should be able to have our kids learn that piece.
Yes, sir.
Here's my humble opinion. Veterans of this country have done a hell of a job to keep the enemies out of borders. Keep them from crossing into the border. I joined in '54, and this decision shows my experience that somehow the goddamn enemy has sneaked into this country. That's my opinion.
Are there, so any other second time speakers who wish? We're gonna do the last comments, last call, except for.
The only thing I have to say is thank you.
Yes.
You have run an exceptional meeting tonight. You've done. Yeah, we've seen eye to eye on the Shasberry ID school district and stuff, but I can't be more proud to have somebody like you running this show tonight. And it gives me an incredible amount of faith that all these voices, for, against, somewhere in the middle, are going to be heard. And that we are going to find some common ground on this because we need to bring this community together. We need to address issues like Shira talked about. You know, why are some school holidays exclusionary for things like Rosh Hashanah? We need to do that. We need to come together as a community. And I feel privileged standing here, and I'm a pretty cynical person, to have you lead. Thank you, Chris.
I said that's all the board chair, so don't worry. So just in terms of next steps, and then we'll take a break, and then anyone else stick around, stick around. Next steps are this. So as I said at the outset, the board is not taking any action tonight, right? This deserves more time and consideration than the last 4 days have allowed for. So what I would ask is that each board member take what you've heard tonight, consult other sources if you wish, and let's plan to come and have an open conversation, not in secret, not behind closed doors, not behind executive session, but an open meeting to discuss what we think our practice ought to be for the SVUESD. I would echo some of what Mike said. I thought this was very well done. I think for the most part, everyone behaved themselves. I think we all did a very good job. People were respectful. Most of us were respectful. Most of us did what we needed to do to have a civil conversation about a thing that's very important, I think, to everyone else who wouldn't be here tonight. Okay, so really, thank you, folks, for doing this tonight. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sticking it out. And truly, we're going to talk about some very exciting things in the next hour and a half. So I hope you stick around for that as well. But let's take a break. All right, thanks everybody. Thanks.
How are we doing? Oh my. See you later.
Yeah.
So much.
I'm not sure that's not what to do. You not what to do. Or are they gonna be able to do that? There's any conversation. Okay, Mike's on. So we're not going to amend the agenda, we're just gonna shake it up a little bit. We're gonna offer Principal Lords the opportunity to jump the line in terms of the agenda. Okay. While she's signing in, this won't take but a moment, I'd like to discuss, not gonna discuss the consent agenda yet, and my sanity. But never mind. We'll do finance, the finance, the report was posted. We can check that out. I guess I would accept a motion to accept the finance report as posted.
I'll make the motion.
Thanks, Jeff. Do we have a second? Thanks, Cindy. We have a first and a second. Any discussion about accepting the finance report as posted? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the finance report as posted, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Finance report is done. Okay, perfect, thank you. So we're gonna turn the floor over to Principal Ward. Going to give us the principal's part. And Principal Ward, thank you for coming on such an exciting night and being patient and sharing your good news with us. So truly, thank you for that. Thanks for sticking it out.
And we did learn last time that people at home cannot see the room once we're sharing the screen.
Okay.
So if there's any conversation, after.
and so- Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, perfect. Okay, Arnold, well, first of all, thank you for having me tonight. It was a wonderful evening to join in, and to hear the conversation from the community as well. So, I was glad to be here. Town Hall has gotten off to a wonderful start this year. Like all things, it has been fast and furious, and we've started going. Usually I'm sharing at the end of the year when I have all these activities we did throughout the whole year, and here I am a little bit earlier, but we still have been rocking and rolling. So first thing, really proud of our campus improvements that we've made. You'll notice I just took a quick picture of the carpeting that got done in our library, but if you go through the list here, we have new Clear Touch, new technology in all of our classrooms, new bulletin boards to have a consistent look throughout the halls, hooks and cubbies that were, brought up to code, really, is what it came down to. Our primary wing, which had a foundation break, was fixed. Our blinds have been replaced school-wide for school safety, primarily. We have updated bathrooms in our upper elementary, so all of our 4th, 5th, and 6th grade students now have new bathrooms, and they're also nice for when we have visitors to campus, that we have nice new bathrooms for them to utilize as well. And we have updated kindergarten bathrooms and sinks, new cafeteria tables, new art tables. We have done a ton of work, and I give a lot of credit to Holly, who has really come in and really helped to make that happen for us. The school is looking, in my opinion, better and better and better. Our Pell Pride assemblies have started. We had our first one we have them on the half day of every month. We celebrate our panel students. Every teacher gets to choose a student who receives a panel pennant. And we also had the arrival of our mascot. So this was fun. I decided to dress up on the first day. Kids had oh yeah. It's me sweating. You can't see me sweating, but I'm over there sweating. And we just had a really fun time. I'm trying to bring just some excitement and some spirit with our students. We also purchased blue Pownell t-shirts for all the kids to wear. We have Pownell Pride on Fridays. So all the kids were given a shirt that they can wear on those days or any other days. And we're also, in addition to pennants, giving out, we bought varsity letter Ps, letter P, and students can collect pins to put on those Ps throughout their time at Pownell, just to celebrate when they are involved in extracurriculars outside of just getting that pennant. Our PTG is off and running. We have a trunk or treat coming up in October. This is our Feed the Monster, where students can bring in bags of candy and drop them into our monster. Kids love that. We even have siblings who don't go to Pownell who walk in the front door so that they can drop off candy as well. We do pies for teachers in November, so our community donates pies, and we do a raffle for the teachers to take home a pie right around the Thanksgiving holiday. And then our Pownell Express in December, which is a take off of the Polar Express. And we do a lot of, we have a bus that goes around, we look at Christmas lights. There is a celebration that takes place in the gym, a lot of community involvement in that as well. We did our bus evacuations 2 weeks ago. We had state police join us, sheriff's department join us, do 4 buses. Vic Milani, who is our our SVSU safety guy, coordinator, he came along. And all of our kids practiced going out the front door, a side window, and the back exit as well. We even had a teacher this year do it as well, out the window, which was entertaining. We joined Pownell Head Start, which opened. It opened as a Head Start and an early Head Start, and we were there for the ribbon cutting ceremony. They've been if you haven't seen it lately, when you drive by a beautiful new building,
And they are a community member that we work really closely with, and we're hoping to build even more connection with, as we move through, the upcoming years. Really proud of one of my teachers. Her name's Ms. Bond. She teaches 4th grade. She has pulled a bunch of books to encourage students to read outside of the classroom. They can borrow one of the books, bring it home, read it, and come back. And if they answer a few questions, we give them pause as a reward system at our school. And they can earn pause for doing that. She had great success. I don't know what her book for, I can't remember what it is for this month, but she changes it every month, and she has copies that the students can take home and read and then come back. We started field trips. This is Hopkins Forest. This is our 4th grade at Hopkins Forest. Sorry, 5th grade at Hopkins Forest. We have another trip to Ramblewild. Our 1st grade's going to Schuyler Farms. Apple Barn has opened up the opportunity to bring students there. Sheep Hill and Mascoca are all on the docket this fall. Williams College continues to be a partner with us, so they come and eat lunch with us, they participate in recess. We also have a tutor who comes and does a small group math with some of our 6th graders to stretch their learning as well. So really excited about that partnership. Upcoming, this is me last year, this is our holiday luncheon that we do in Thanksgiving, around the Thanksgiving time. Invite the community in, they can come in and share a meal with their student. And so I got a little gift for my turkey hat. This week is Fire Safety Week, and so the Pownell Volunteer Fire Department and the Pownell Valley Volunteer Fire Department will be coming in next week. They always bring all of their trucks, and the kids get to interact and ask them questions and talk to them. We do our sugar run the day after day after Halloween to run off all the sugar. A little bit of a route we do around the campus, and the kids get fresh apples at the end of that, and just kind of get their energy out. We have, I think it's 5 students who are participating in the Annie production that's taking place at the Monument Arts and Cultural Center. Really excited about our kids. They've been getting involved in plays outside of our school. We're also looking to start up our play production again. I have 2 teachers who are going to lead play productions for Pownell again, and so we'll be looking forward to that in the spring. Choir will perform at our Pownell tree lighting ceremony in December, and then of course, like always, we always have our Friday Funny. This is the last week's Friday Funny. These are some of my 4th graders, and so the question was, how do you get a squirrel to like you? You act like they're not. And that is every Friday. Yeah. So if you guys would like to do a Friday Funny, you're more than welcome. That's fine. But yeah, so there we've had a wonderful start to our year, and just really grateful to be rocking and rolling again. So
That's great.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments for Principal Ward?
For all the years that I spent in Pownell, I think the best thing is that Friday. It just gives the kids an opportunity to express themselves, and I think it's a great thing. And I ran my butt off my breath. Sorry, I'm staring at 9.
Some we have to do a little coaching through, but no, I'm really, they're excited to be principal for the day. They haven't earned enough tickets yet, but we'll move towards that as well. And just the ownership that they take over. They've come to me about groups that they want to start. It's a wonderful environment, and really seeing our kids grow to kind of advocate for themselves.
Kudos.
I just think that your PTG is also doing a fantastic job, and I know that you've shared a little bit of information, but as a parent on 2 different PTG PTSAs in the district, we've pulled from Melanie, who's come to different ones that she's part of, and so it's nice to share ideas and to get feedback from kind of what other schools are doing to support the other schools in the district. And the newsletter that they put out, the Pownell Facebook page and stuff has really felt like it's garnered a lot of attention. And so I think they're doing a good job, and that's spread to people who are not Pownell residents. So I think that I've been following that a little bit, mainly for some ideas, not stealing your fundraisers, but just it's nice to kind of have access to that, and I just think they're doing a good job. So
I will pass it on. A wonderful support.
Enthusiasm towards pretty much everything Pownell is getting you the buy-in, it's getting these results, don't change.
Yeah, I don't plan on. I kind of joke with my staff. They may be, I don't know if they're listening, but
Like, every time I come up in front of them, I'm like, okay, I got another crazy idea. Like, okay, now I got another crazy idea, and I am grateful for a staff that runs with it. They're just like, let's do it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Great, thank you. You are sprung. You should have. Thank you very much. All right, great. So we bounced around a little bit. I don't know if we did the consent. We didn't do the consent agenda. So let's talk about the consent agenda. For the minutes, there were corrections sent via email that were then attached to this agenda tonight. So there's that. The warrants, I have not seen them make the circuit yet tonight, so we'll need to sign those. Actually, they went there right there. Thank you. No leaves of absence or retirements. Thank you. Two resignations, no nominations, no filters. So, any discussion about first of all, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as published, please. Thanks, Cindy. We'll call, I don't know who's second. Okay, great. First and second, any discussion of approving the consent agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye. 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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, that passes. We did the finance, we did the principal report. Let's go to the SVSU reports. One of our reps would like to speak to that. Floor's open. Okay.
I can tell you that we had a discussion on the difficulties of being a board chair. And
Yes.
how the workload seems to be excessive at some points, and that we as a board should probably consider supporting our board chair more so on that board.
That's supervisory level.
Yes, that was, I think, a big part of our discussion.
Okay. Anything else from the SVSU for right now? I'll hold for next one. Okay. Principal report we've done. Superintendent's report. Superintendent called me.
Good evening,
I'm sure you feel fresh and ready to go.
Well, this part of this, most of my reports will be done by somebody else. Behavior and social emotional presentation. This evening, you're gonna have the opportunity to listen to a presentation that will share updated social, emotional, and behavior-related community data linked to the district's new continuous improvement plan, the goals that are in effect from 2024 through 2027. They're in alignment with the SVSU policy number 6,000 or 18. The minutes from this presentation will be shared publicly on our website after this meeting to ensure that the board and the public have the opportunity to together learn about the process, the tools, and data that result in this format and to avoid any misconceptions as a common understanding is created. At the conclusion of this presentation, questions be directed to either the board chair or the superintendent. If there are further questions that arise after the meeting, please direct them to me or the board chair, and we will plan for next steps for answering those. And so tonight, I have Assistant Superintendent Laura Boudreau and Director of Student Support Services, Dr. Kate Knapp.
Thank you. So for some of you so the SVSU was, the cool thing is that we've got things started now, so the SVSU is getting the presentation first. So a few of you are gonna notice something, if you peek ahead, that was actually a suggestion that you made. So I'm hoping this is gonna help you with budget season. We've been working with Nick Galt and Renee Gordon this today, up to noon today, to try to make sure we're giving you some accurate information. The other thing that I wanna highlight is this piece of the system that we're highlighting, where you had academic last month and this is your social emotional piece, has many hands in it. And today we sat in a meeting this morning with our lead clinicians, counselors, behavior specialists, social emotional coaches, and our community partners, United Counseling Service and the hospital, reviewing our staffing patterns and talking about making sure that we're transitioning students appropriately. And so I just want to highlight how many wonderful partners we have in the community that are really focused on the social emotional wellness of our students. So we have some acronyms.
Right, your first page is your acronyms tip sheet. MTSS is our multi-tiered system of support in all buildings. CIP, continuous improvement plan. And then we use a tool 3 times a year to benchmark our students in terms of internalizing and externalizing behavior called the SSRSIE. So the internalizing looks at things like shy or anxious types of behaviors, and the externalizing is more externalizing or behavioral kind of referral types of behaviors that are noticeable. And then we also do twice a year treatment integrity social validity scale to just check on how we're doing in terms of our implementation.
So our goal, as a reminder, so this is gonna be different than the academic goal. Our data collection for social emotional learning linked to this goal as a district is in its infancy. So we predict over time we'll be able to go into more detail at this level. So right now though, this first year of this goal, we're gonna give you the large report out. So it's based on the SVSU goal. So our goal is to have high fidelity rates of 80% or higher of universal implementation efforts. And we measure that through the treatment integrity social validity survey that staff fill out twice a year. All staff fill out twice a year. So our goal is that 80% of our staff are feeling like, yeah, we're really implementing with fidelity when they report out. And then the second part of our goal is that at least 70% of our students will be responding to primary prevention efforts. So that means what we're giving them for instruction. So our kids responding to what we're doing for social emotional learning. That 70% of students by 2027 will be responding successfully. And the other part of the goal is that we're always working on making sure that we have a tight multi-tiered system of support system that's documented. And I'm proud to say that we do have that. So here's actually what happened for the SVUESD. 65 right now, so the end of this past school year, we've just started this goal for SVUESD. There's a fidelity rate of 65% of universal implementation efforts. So that means that when staff filled out the survey, all staff, 65% of them feel like, yeah, we're really implementing with fidelity. So again, we have 3 years to reach our goal and we have more work to do. The second part of the goal is that 51% of our students are responding successfully to primary efforts, prevention efforts by the student risk screening scale. So again, you can see that we're headed in the right direction. This is a 3-year goal. Those are 2 pieces of data for you. If you go to the next slide, I do report out because I'm also the homeless liaison for the district. And I want to point out to you that every year when we do this report, I report. So it's going to be kind of hard because homelessness is a moving target. And the period that I'm reporting out to you is slightly different because it depends on the board meeting that I'm going to be attending. But for this period of time, August through September 20th, right now I have done at the pre-K elementary level 52 intakes compared to the window of August to September 6th last year where I had 33. So I just want to give you a sense of what that looks like. And then I've also included an excerpt that the Vermont Agency of Education sent to all districts that's as a reminder, and I think this is really important to note because it speaks to our population right now, that on September 15th, the number of motel rooms that can be used for emergency housing was reduced by 1,100 rooms as required by Act 113. Households with a child under the age of 19 are included in the high-risk category that will be prioritized for continued housing in the program beyond September 15th. The maximum number of days that an eligible household can receive emergency housing in a hotel in a 12-month period cannot exceed 80 days. Current projections show that 291 households, which include 161 children, will exhaust their 80 nights on September 19th. So what I said to the SVSU board, and I'm saying to this board as well, is that it reminds you of the population we serve and that we are seeing an outcome of this action. And again, we're lucky because we're going to highlight some of the supports we have in place. So I'm going to turn this, we're just going to do a quick review of some information you've seen before, and we just want to highlight the subtle changes are in yellow from last year.
So tier 1, everyone receives tier 1 implementation, and you can see on your handout. Second step, we've actually expanded second step with our grant called Project Aware. That's a 5-year grant. Our zones of regulation, it's about to be budget season, is locally funded. Again, grades 4 through 5, positive behavior intervention support. Second, Project Aware has expanded our second step implementation to digital, as well as paper copies, and then zone of regulation, again, that's local.
If you keep going, and we're gonna highlight now, so you have to provide professional learning. And you can see that we're continuing to stick to the routines areas that we've already focused on. And as we have new teachers coming into the district, new professional staff members, we need to make sure that we're providing professional learning. And what has changed is the funding sources, because we don't have ESSER anymore. So that's what I'm hoping you're picking up on, is we want you to know. And again, you're gonna see project aware and local funding. We found ways in the last budget cycle to add some of these items in. And you'll also notice that Title IV comes into play. Title IV is this great bucket of title money that can be used to support social emotional initiatives. The money fluctuates, and that's a presentation for later in the year, but know that we were able to secure some of our grant funding this year for these events. And then the next piece is, again, annually now for the last 3 years, and we're just gonna kind of go through these pages slowly. We want to show you the staffing pattern and what's new or different as you prepare for budget season. But I would actually ask you, I'm looking at a few board members that are in here to see how we did. We made a chart on page 10. Page 10. Which was a request from a board member too.
Perfect chart.
Okay? So,
Very tired.
there is a lot of people that put a lot of time into this chart. So we wanted you to have it, we felt really strongly in meeting again with our Director of Human Resources today, our Director of Finance, our team here. We really wanted to keep things both ways because I think it reaches people different ways. But I also remember a question from the SVSU board about behavior interventionist. Is there one in each building? And when we looked at that through the lens of the SVUESD, different buildings have different names for the behavior interventionist, and that's school choice. Howell uses a different title for their behavior interventionist, and that's just a choice of their school culture, but it's a behavior interventionist. So I'm hoping this helps you see the landscape, and then in parentheses, we also put what the funding source was so that you would have an idea. And then we listed additional resources. The other request was, could we have job descriptions? So our Director of Human Resources, who we partnered with him, and what you'll see on the next, and again, this is information for you to digest and prepare for budget season, so we're not gonna go through this tonight with you, but we wanted to make sure, and so how we did this is we took the a snippet, because again, it's gonna be available to the public as well, a snippet from the job description, so you would know what the qualification is of this role. And then we took the snippet from the purpose statement as well, so that you had a sense of what this could look like. The one we do want to just take a moment and highlight is the registered behavior technician, because that's just a relatively new position.
Right, so we've been talking about board certified behavior analysts or BCBAs, and the new position we've had added to our contract is registered behavior technician. Our RBTs work under the direction of a BCBA, and they have to pass the BACB certification test in order to be acknowledged as an RBT. So that's a lot of letters, but just know it's a higher level of expertise. They are in the paraprofessional ESP contract, but they have to pass a certification test that's nationally accredited in order to achieve that RBT status. And then they're supervised weekly by a BCBA who guides them to implement behavior plans.
So as you move into budget season, and then I will just say the last page was a request from your board meeting last time, and so the Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, Melissa Senecal, added this piece of information for you that was requested this board, which was to have the percentage of learners on or above grade level. So that just is, again, is a request after your board meeting last time. So to close up, this information is to help support budget season and planning, and we are available to come back, answer questions. It's been a very busy night, but know that you have this resource to help guide your work. And again, I can't thank, this was an all hands on deck project, and I appreciate the great questions, because I actually hope that some of the changing how we presented things will help you with this information.
This is excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you for being so responsive to the request from the SVSU. But I think not knowing what it looked like when it was given to a supervisory, it is presented in a very clear way here. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, and I would encourage folks, this is a lot to drink in, and we should be familiar with these terms, and as Dr. Abbott said, it's a lot of letters, but they're all important ones. And, yeah, we'll get it sorted. What sorts of questions do we have right now for, Superintendent Boudreaux and Dr. Abbott?
One, I know that you just added it, so I'm really sorry that person's not here. Yeah, so I can take a question back. Yeah, perfect. We're missing sixth grade. Okay. Can I back you to that?
Yes.
Yes.
And I just want to clarify that grades 3, 4, 5, and 6 are the map, and then grade 1, 2 are average. Is that correct?
I'm gonna, because Melissa made this and she's not here tonight. Yeah, so I'm gonna take your question back, thank you. And ask, yeah.
It says it's top,
Yeah, it
right?
says Housebridge for 1 and 2.
Oh, yes, that's right there.
It
No,
does,
yeah.
but then it says fast bridge assessments grades 2nd, 3rd,
Yeah.
4th, and 5th, and WBA and.
There's an implied semicolon there.
Is there?
Yeah,
Is there?
I think so. Yeah. But we could. Yeah, that's confusing, but yeah. There's an implied semicolon. I can tell that to my students. That makes sense. I know this was not the intention. It does, I do wish more folks had stuck around. Thank you very much for sticking around, because I know what we were discussing during public for so much public comment really strikes a lot of people on a very emotional level. But there's all this other stuff that our schools are also dealing with. 52 homeless intakes for our kids, right? Like that is a major, that is sound, yeah, that has a sound.
And the increase that is over last.
Yeah, they won't have, I had said that was just the pre-K. It was, so it's just the pre-K elementary. And I will say, some of the human beings that you see in the staffing patterns, like the family engagement specialists, I don't know, like, they're like, I call them my octopus arm, because they can go and be present with the child in a crisis and meet with their family and meet with the community resource, and so you can see that trend line, and I can tell you in this moment that number really rocked us at the beginning of the year, because we really wanted to meet with these reasons. So these staffing patterns represent some of the supports. Question from the gentleman over here.
Sure.
I was just curious, if this new system, have you been able to do any quantified data for the hopefully, less use of law enforcement get called to the schools?
That's a great question.
That's a great question.
I know when my granddaughter was in Valley Star, it was quite often.
Yeah. I can just tell you anecdotally, Jamie, that the number of calls for law enforcement to attend to emergencies at school has gone down. But tying it to, I can't speak to the.
I didn't know if the.
Yeah. It's an excellent point, and it speaks to the level of need of our kids coming into schools, and it was not lip service. I was very happy to see as many people as were here today taking an interest in one aspect of the school, and I just wonder what our district could look like if that level of interest and passion was brought to these really big issues like youth homelessness, like the trauma our kids face. It could be really something. It could be really something. We'll go, Stephanie, we'll go.
I think I know the answer, but I just want to be clear. So, does every child receive the screener automatically, or is that only done if there's concern?
Yeah, great question. So the student at-risk screening scale, or and our legal SRSSIE really fast. So because we're just used to it, it's the teacher. It's a survey, a teacher survey. So it's a norm-referenced assessment. It's provided through the University of Kansas. Okay, so. And we're trained in how to implement it. And a teacher actually has a class roster, and they fill it out, and we're given 3 screening windows a year to do that. And it's only after you've had your class for a period of time. So you need to have your class for a period of time.
Do they screen every child as a prerequisite?
Correct. Yeah, so it's a universal screener. That's a great question. It is just like when we do the math and that's what I love about Vermont. It's a balanced system between academics and social emotional learning. So we're supposed to have, And we've gotten props through Project Aware, this new grant we have for our district. They wanna help us have a screener, and we're like, we have a screener, so.
I spoke with Eric Strywick about it.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, good.
so I'm
That's
familiar
perfect.
with the screener, but I didn't know if it was used only if there was a
Yeah.
concern or if it was used on every
Universal,
child.
it's one of the
Okay.
universal screeners, and it's given
Okay.
three times a year. I shouldn't say given, it's like, the survey is provided 3 times a year. Sure, like, it's like yeah, teacher fills it out 3 times a year, how's that?
Great. Anybody else?
So you were talking about the local funding on the second step and zones of.
Correct.
Right, yes. Are they both local? Are the, what are the two, the second step and the zones of regulation, are they
Correct.
two different?
Oh, good question.
And are they from K to 3?
Yeah.
Like,
So second step is our primary research, and just like we do with any other, this district has teams. So there's a health and wellness team of professional staff, which is great, and they reviewed resources because we do need a tool to provide direct instruction to kids in social emotional learning. It's great lessons about like how do you say no, how do you how do you act with your peers. So they have wonderful lessons. And they landed on a primary resource called Second Step. And so K through 3, 4 through 5 and 6, so elementary, and then our MAU middle school uses Second Step, okay? And it's funded through a piece of it right now is funded through Project Aware, because there was a electronic piece that we put on the field with people. So we're using Project Aware money, so they have kits, and then there's also electronic piece. Zones of regulation is called a step. So second step's our primary resource. And then zones of regulation is a supplemental. My analogy for you for zones of regulation, it's like colored zones. Are you in the green zone? Are you in the yellow zone? I can see head nodding because you've seen posters around the building. It's a supplemental to go along with second step. When we do walkthroughs through buildings and we walk through with principals, where do I often see zones of regulation is used like a morning meeting. Kids can tag how they're feeling for the day, and then you as a teacher know how to support a child. And so that says local funding. So that used to be funded through ESSER. And what we were funding through ESSER was some of the materials, which are primarily posters and things. It's really not a lot to go along with zones of regulation. Yeah.
I was gonna ask you, concurrent funding.
Yeah.
It seems like it's the same material.
Yeah, I'm hoping that most of what we'll need for zones of regulation will just be replacement items. We really took advantage of the ESSER money and purchased as much of the material as we could, so it would not impact the local budget. I think where the actual money comes is the professional learning piece, because when we have a whole new group of teachers, we have to train them, and we've built in our capacity, so we have coaches that can train, but every once in a while we do need to hire some of the trainers, and things shift and change, so.
Is this also the yearly licensing and?
Those, not for those regulation, no, second step, yes.
Okay.
Yes, and Project Aware is taking care of second step right now, so we can use that grant through SAMHSA to fund that.
I just want to say thank you for I have so appreciated the implementation of the zones of regulation stuff. It has made that language is coming to our home. It's given them so much agency.
Okay.
And I know that for folks in classrooms that he's that we're friends with outside of school as well. So.
Can I tell you one other good connection? Some of our providers have asked, UPS in particular, is when they are supporting a child that might be help, they are asking us about that tool. And so let's make sense for a child. If a child requires an intensive service and they see the same material, that helps the transition back to just makes it so much better for the child. So thank you for sharing that.
Anything else? Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks for the way this is packaged. Superintendent Culkey, anything else?
One other item, I believe we have filled out the roster for their Southwest Vermont Union Elementary School District. Best education facility minus one community that you may have a lead on. Okay, didn't work out. So I propose that we go ahead and meet anyways. I do have two board members, two administrators, two teachers, two parents, so we still look forward to it. But I will, so what I plan to do is I'm going to send out the report again to everyone. Ask them, that'll kind of constitute our first meeting. On that distribution, everyone will see who else is serving on the committee. Ask them to take the time and fully read it, and then we'll send them out like a survey time for some meeting times that may work. So we won't, rather than have that first meeting and hand it out, we'll do the first meeting electronically and send that out to.
So just to keep everything above board, I would like to hear a motion. So the initial plan was, the thing that we as a board agreed to was to create this sort of mega ad hoc committee to be comprised of everyone that superintendent just mentioned. We're still one person shy of filling out that rank. So what I'd like
We have a lot of people tonight, we should ask for a community.
We should have. What I'd like to do is I would entertain a motion to reduce that representation to only one community member as opposed to two, just so we're not held up any longer in doing this work. So if anyone wants to make a motion.
So where are all the community members, where are the towns that you're missing a separate community member?
Well, so we weren't asking for towns necessarily, we're just asking for two community members. So we have two teachers, two administrators, two parents, two community members, and there's a fifth category, I thought. Or maybe just the four.
Two administrators, two school board members, two
School board
teachers.
members, that's
Yeah,
what it is,
I
yeah.
forget that.
How are all those spread out in terms of?
I don't have it in front of me, I will add that, I do not believe I have any double representation, but I mean, well, I must have some double.
Right.
I tried to get a representative from every community.
So that's like, that's like one of our two.
Right,
Yeah,
but
that's-
it's true, but as board members, but you're not in the same community.
Right,
Yeah, and so one administrator is from Bennington, one administrator is from Shaftesbury, teacher from Pownell. I don't know where, I don't have I do have it, but not on this document, where the parent is from, but.
So we have two choices. We can either continue to hold up what I think is really important work regarding our facilities, because until we find that second elusive member, or we begin short of what our initial goal was, but at least we can begin. I make that motion. So we have the motion to amend the initial starting lineup.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a second. So any further discussion about that?
It's possible to add.
I would advocate that we do it.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to get the ball rolling. Hopefully people will see what a great time it is working on this.
This is modeled similar to how the Spinelli Field ad hoc committee works, which means that my intent that we won those meetings and anybody can go to them. And anyone can take part of the discussion, just like at these meetings, but when it comes to a vote, a recommendation of what that committee is gonna bring back to this committee, the vote will be by those designated people. It's like, we will want them like a meeting, anybody can come, what they do.
So definitely, to answer the question, yes. If we get another taker to represent that community slot, by all means, come right on. Yeah, but let's not wait any longer to get that. So we have a first and second. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor of modifying the ad hoc committee in the manner described, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I have one question.
Yes, Cindy.
This committee that's formulating, are they the ones that are going to be stating whether we close school?
No. They would come back with recommendations to this committee. This committee has all the authority, not
This board, rather.
this board, I'm sorry.
We as a board would have the authority to make a decision. They're gonna tell us what they think, but what that subcommittee thinks should happen, we'll make the decision what will happen.
I won't miss that meeting.
Pretty good. I mean, you missed many meetings.
There's so many options. They could go back and tell you they think that everything is keep it the way it is, or make these changes or pass the change. I don't wanna limit to where this committee may go.
Listen, but personally, my personal feeling is community, the school is the community's spot.
Are you on the committee?
No,
I think you should be.
I can't drive at night.
There's already two board
Yeah,
members.
we have our two board meeting slots. So great, so that passes. So did we take a vote?
Yes.
I think we did. Let's just wrap it up. Any abstentions? I didn't ask that. All good. It passed, great. So we'll do it. So please drive the
We'll
ship
get
on
that
that.
ramped up, and the only other thing I want to say is I want to thank the board chair for having you conduct at the beginning of the meeting. You know, whenever we have, I've been at board meetings where public comment has gotten out of control, because passion is there. So I think you did a masterful job of conducting the public comment meeting, I think.
Well, thanks. All right, that brings us to the last agenda, Sandy, yes,
Which is,
FYI.
oh, so
Are
we're
we
skipping
skipping policies?
policies?
Oh, it is easy, thank you, thanks for bringing it up, let's go back to policy, so I can pronounce it right. So we have 3 policies to warrant, we have draft policy 1025, draft policy 5156, draft policy 6190. Those first 2 are minor itty bitty changes, it corrects the districts covered by those, so like it takes out the Bennington School District and it adds Arlington, it adds our board as an entity. The last one, holiday observance, there's a more significant language change, but the thrust of the policy doesn't change at all. So we'll start with Steph.
So policy 5156, section 2 says K through 8 will be provided with at least 2 physical education classes per week. As a parent with a child in 4th grade at Woodford School, I know that that is currently not the case. And I'm curious if that's going to change because of this policy.
So that part of the policy that you're looking at is actually not where the proposed changes are. Proposed changes are the ones that are highlighted.
Right,
So
so I guess
that's-
I'm wondering, how does that get followed if it's not currently being followed then?
That is an excellent question that I think we should refer to our superintendent, because that's a matter, what we've just discovered is a matter of policy not being followed.
I did revisit that today when I read this and asked in gym classes once a week on Fridays for all kids in the school, we share the gym teacher. So it is just the one day that the gym teacher comes in.
So what I as when any question comes to us like that, you don't feel prepared to answer.
Yeah, no, that's okay, I read it and I wanted to bring it up because
Where the staffing issue is on that.
Okay, sure, yeah, please, thank you. Seth, is anything else on that point?
The only other piece, which is something I highlighted to myself, is the not using physical activity or withholding physical education as recess, or recess as punishment. Is I do know that professionally, I know that has happened in some different schools, so maybe that's just something to just bring back to those teachers or those administrators when we're having those conversations.
I think what we highlight policies at our administrators meetings. So, and I'm looking at Assistant Superintendent Pedro, so that let's make sure that ends up on one of our next agendas. Because we do remind administrators at our monthly meetings of this policies on the agenda that like, hey, this is refreshed, you should be aware of this. And then that should be addressed at their staff meeting. So, yeah, that's a good reminder.
If this policy hadn't been here, I wouldn't have known that the expectation was 2, so I just happened to see it, wanted to bring that up.
I will also tell you that, that the SVSU Health and Wellness team meets on Thursday. And they are, based on some suggestions from the policy committee, are redoing, going back and doing a review. So I appreciate that feedback to share as well.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Chris, just one note on this, we had a lengthy discussion on this, and this is
On which
not
one, please?
on the student wellness and nutrition 5156, and this is not the policy that we agreed to at that meeting. I'm sorry to share that with you, when I tried to get, it was a little bit loud, I couldn't get to Laura earlier.
Okay.
I just remember that there was a section in here that we had a lengthy discussion on, and that we had considered changing the words so that they reflected what the intent was. So this is not
This is not actually, okay.
actually that,
Okay, so,
I'll share it with you later.
Will we be fortunate enough to have Richard's minutes, because apparently I came up with the right word,
Yes.
but I'll be darned if I can remember what it was.
okay, at the policy.
Because it was basically, it was reading, food-based
I'll share it with
reinforcement.
Okay, okay.
Because it's used in ABA therapy,
Sure.
it's,
Yes.
you know,
Oh, yeah, I know the conversation you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the conversation, that's actually all going back to the health and wellness, based on your suggestions, that very
So
thing.
are we
is going
talking
back to
about policy though, or added rights to the
policy. It was a policy, and it was the conversation, so everything you're saying is going back to the health and wellness team on Thursday. That entire team will be there, and that's their agenda item, and that very thing, I know you're referencing it, I also have my notes in front of me,
you know,
but I know, so please know that the health and wellness team is gonna review that on Thursday.
Sandy,
So
can
we
you?
can't, so that, so
Right,
we should.
we won't take action on this.
Thank you.
Can you please bring this back to the policy committee and just ask them
Oh, I need, please.
that the correct will be brought back? Thank you. Yeah, so, any further conversation about these policies to be warned?
I have one on 1025, I see he, she has now become they. Are we referencing a singular person or are we referencing someone in a sense of plurality?
So my sense is that they is being used as sort of a universal catch-all for students regardless of gender. There, good, thank you. So I would entertain a motion that we warn draft policies 1025 and 6190. Anyone wanna make that motion?
Sure.
Thanks, Cindy. Glenn will call it number 2. Any further discussion about warning 1025 and 6190? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, great. So we've warned 1025, warned 6190. Sandy, as our policy committee rep, is gonna bring 5156 back to the table. Now, I think, and again, I shouldn't jump around the agenda, but I did anyway. I think that brings us to number 9, which is the FYI, Governor Budget Status Report, student enrollment, 5030, administrative regulations for policy 5030, and administrative regulations for policy 6230. That's all FYI. So with our agenda exhausted, thank you very much for sticking around for the whole night, everybody. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Sure. Hey, all right. City Council President.
Well, our next board meeting is a very big election day.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
ever since
Yeah, that's great.
being a justice of the peace,
Okay.
I have to work.
For sure.
If I can get all I can make, I'll come to the meeting, but
As JP, you have other duties. So what I will ask is that Superintendent Colkeen, when it comes time to set the calendar for next month, please make sure this is.
We should clear it. We should, so we should be the 12th.
Unless that's the.
it's
Yeah,
election.
the election is the 5th and we're gonna meet the 12th.
Yeah, our second Tuesday is the 12th. So we're good to go. Yeah, okay. So, all right, so we're good to go. Great. So,
I'll see you on that.
did we have that motion to adjourn? 70, Glenn, 1, 2, any discussion about adjourning? All those in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? I didn't think so. Any abstentions? We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks for the day.
Yeah.